And now on Who's Views, it's time for the latest headlines with JT and the Whotastic panel.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Who Viewers. How are you? It's the big show here on Who's Views. Yes, it's your headlines on Sunday, the 11th of August, 2024. What a fantastic day it has been here in the UK, I'm sure. Yeah, honestly, it's been gorgeous weather across the country. So hopefully wherever you are in the UK, you had that elusive thing in the sky we call the sun. Honestly, because it's absolutely fabulous. It's very, very warm. So I hope you've had a lovely day. Hello to you if you're outside the UK as well. If you're just waking up with us. Good morning. Hello. Nice to see you. To see you, nice. Yes, I was watching Brucey on the telly last night. What a legend. Anyway, what a show we have got coming up for you. Yes, it is another big show for you, because have you heard? Ncuti Gatwa's rich. Lucky old him, I say. Bafta chooses reality over fantasy. And RTD has been speaking again. This time, in my opinion, on not how to write Doctor Who. We've got that and a lot more coming up for you this evening. I'm delighted to be joined, as ever, by Paul and Third Doctor Ian. What a lovely day, guys.
It's beautiful evening, all.
Yeah, it's been gorgeous, hasn't it? I did express how much I enjoyed the day earlier, so no doubt I expect the police knocking on the door and I'll be arrested and committed to 2.5 years in prison by the end of the week.
It could happen. You never know. It could happen. Thank you for that. Listen, hello to everybody that is in the chat with us as well. We've got a lot of you joining us already this evening. It is fabulous to see you. Cute Pryor is in the chat. Have you seen the new laws? Are Who's Views? I hate to know what new laws those are, but no, I haven't. We haven't got any new ones here, which reminds me, actually, just check that you're still subscribed to the channel. We have had more messages this week, guys, still saying to us that people are having to resubscribe to the channel. So just have a check, everybody, to make sure you're subscribed to our channel here and come and join us. And if you're new to the channel, please press that subscribe button as well. What else we got? The Legion of James is here. Hello to you. Nice to see you. And Marjorie is here. Hello, Marjorie. Neville's here as well. Nibbles is here saying, oh, hello, all you beautiful people. How fabulous. And I just want to say, as usual, thank you so much to everybody that's been getting in touch with us this week. Again, a huge, what we used to call mailbag, guys. And however, I am going to say, as usual, it takes me ages to get back to you all. And I'm so sorry. But I do get back to you eventually, so hang in there. Hang in there. I know that Mrs. Lisa Pertwee's gal can testify that eventually I do get back to people. Although I didn't get the first email, didn't I, lovely? Didn't get the first email, but there you go. But anyway, I want to say a huge thank you to Sean Cryer, to Mark Milford, to John Sheridan, to Mrs. Lisa Pertwee's gal, Motorhead 101, Lynn Hobday, Miles Stewart, Gary Bryant, Silky Cossack, Debbie Fraser, Andy's Vinyl 1565, Mudcrap 3420, Len Looks Back, Theodore Benton, and I want to say as well to Adrian Sherlock, Damon Dark 1094. He's a huge Warriors of the Deep fan and didn't like what we were saying the other night on the start of our Worlds Below show about Warriors of the Deep. But
sorry.
Yes, don't worry. Not this Wednesday, but next Wednesday. Come and join us live as we review Warriors of the Deep as part of our Worlds Below season. I'm really looking forward to that one, actually. So come and join us with that. And yeah, it's all in the name of fun, isn't it, guys? It's all in the name of fun.
Exactly. You can't like every story, can you? Let's be fair.
Up to season 26, anyway.
Up to season
26.
Yeah.
But it's so lovely to see you all there as well. So thank you very much. And look at Legion of James saying the Hurty Words police might be lurking. I have no doubt it in this crazy country that we're in now, to be quite honest. Stephen, thank you so much. Yeah, I can testify JT does get back to you.
You're lucky enough to do it by pen and paper, write like John Pertwee used to do, write fan mail back.
It's so
take even longer.
It's so funny. Honestly, it does take me ages, but thank you, everybody that gets in touch. It really does mean the world. Thank you so much. Dalek Eyes with us and Marjorie saying, how in the world is Gatwa rich? The series was crap. Well, we're going to be coming to that very, very shortly, but let's crack on because we do have a big show for you again for you. And we're going to crack on with an update, actually, on our last week's show. Last week's headlines was quite heavy, wasn't it? Let's face it, because as you know, headlines here on Who's Views, this is the show where we discuss those things that can affect the world of Doctor Who. Of course, Doctor Who is owned by BBC, the BBC Studios, broadcast on BBC One, and as ever, the BBC seems to be stumbling from one problem to another and has done for nigh on 30 years. It tries and always gets it wrong, whether it be overzealous DEI quotation or whatever, you know, or lack of sense when it comes to recruiting staff. That's what I was talking about here. But we did talk about that particular person, didn't we? I'm very reticent to mention him, actually, but you know who I'm talking about. It was the newsroom.
Yeah, it's hard to say the word gentleman, isn't it? It really doesn't really fit, does it?
Yeah, it is.
Not a chance, is it really? But the newsread, you know who I'm talking about. And we spoke about that last week because Doctor Who had been mentioned because he's been taken out of the episode Fear Her and somebody else is taking over. If you didn't see that particular show, you can go back and look at it. But there was an update to this week, and I don't know if you all saw this. And this has come from the brand new Culture, Media and Sport Secretary and State Representative. This is Lisa Nandy, who put out this statement this week saying, public trust in the BBC is essential. And so I welcome the BBC's decision to launch an independent review into the culture within the organisation following the Hugh Edwards case and its abhorrent actions. The BBC is a hugely valued and important player in the public service broadcasting landscape that reaches millions every day. And it is vital that the public has complete trust and faith in the organisation and in how it is run. BBC staff must be able to feel safe in the workplace and be confident that if non-editorial complaints are raised, they will be acted upon and dealt with fairly and decisively. The BBC is operationally and editorial independent of the government. However, I have spoken to the BBC chair in the past week to convey these points in the interests of the public. Signed by Lisa Nandy, Secretary of State for Culture, Media and Sport. Well, thank you so much for that, Lisa Nandy. But you are totally out of date. Totally,
yes,
in my opinion, out of date. Far too late, Paul, isn't it?
Yeah, should have done it in the 1970s. You know, it's like far too late. The words "no shit Sherlock" come to mind again, I'm afraid. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, this is ridiculous. Really, considering that her predecessors, albeit on the other sides of the aisle, on the Tory party, who were in government for 14 years, were on the verge of privatising the BBC and selling it off. And then this government have come in, the Labour Party have come in as a government and actually given it a free pass again for the next goodness knows how many years. This scandal, plus their own scandals that have been going on since they got into power, 2-3 weeks ago? It's not making anybody look any good. And this statement from Lisa Nandy about that the public trust in the BBC is essential. We don't have public trust in the UK in the BBC anymore. You know, it's gone. She's saying there the BBC is a hugely valued and important player in the public service broadcasting landscape. Not anymore. Not anymore. It might be for people like you, who the BBC will tend to agree with, but not anymore. What do you guys reckon to this?
Well, I think Labour are doing a great job so far. That's what I think. Yeah.
I mean, personally, I find Lisa Nandy a little bit slow, a little bit dim, and highly over promoted. I don't have anything positive to say about her, and I haven't thought much of her for quite some time. I think she's generally incapable, like most of her colleagues, incapable of reading the room. If she could read the room, I don't think she gives two hoops. And she's incredibly wide of the mark again. I think she's an absolute buffoon. Personal opinion, but I'll stand by that. So
as I've said many times,
I'll probably be arrested and not on the show next week. Sorry.
As I said many times, the BBC's had its day. They need to evaluate the channel, make it like a Netflix model, do something like that, and then people won't feel they're being abused by having to pay compulsory for a license they don't really want.
And it's not independent of a government, otherwise it wouldn't toe the government party line 100% 24/7.
I remember the days, and I treasured the days when the BBC was completely neutral, and all you had was none of this fancy American style news reading nonsense. Where, you know, you had them behind a desk like I am right now, with a painted backdrop or a wallpapered backdrop. And all they did was read from the auto cue or from their paper, and they read the headlines. No attitude, no opinion, just absolute fact. There it is, what the journalists in the BBC have put together. You don't get that anymore. And as we know through Doctor Who, we get opinions of people in the shows now to tell the British public how small they are and how insignificant they are, and how the elite, our betters within the BBC, should be teaching us what they want us to teach us. We know what the BBC staff think of us at all. We've had this from the horse's mouth, from various people that have worked in the BBC. We know they don't like the British public, and they think that we're the great unwashed. No, I'm sorry, Lisa Nandy, I cannot accept what you said there at all. It's time for the BBC to go #defund the BBC, I would say. We're getting lots of people in the chat, guys, agreeing with what we are saying here. And Simon L is saying to us, if the BBC are launching the investigation, how can it possibly be independent?
It's where does the money come from, all these investigations? So, you know, it takes forever to get to the bottom of anything. I mean, don't get me started on the post office, for God's sake. But it's like, why does it take so long? And always, let's have an investigation so we can stall it even longer. It's like, God almighty.
I think
and those investigations cost money, don't they?
Yeah, exactly.
I think they had 3 or 4 concurrent investigations running at the same time into Savile.
What, investigating the investigations? That's how it was.
I genuinely don't know, but they were all investigating Savile, and it's like, surely one investigation can do that if it's thorough enough.
Yeah.
But I mean, all these investigations can prove nothing really, and we all know anyway why these things happen is because they protect their own. There are people in there in higher positions that know what's going on. They hush it up, and they empower the people that are doing it to continue. And then eventually it gets out to a point where they can't contain it anymore. And then it's a lot of soul searching and breast beating and everything else. And it's all fake. It's all fake. They just don't want the damage to come across to them.
It's like this week, Ian, I've been using the word elite a lot more, because that's what it feels like for me. You know, the fact that, you know, whether it be government now or whether it be within the BBC, there is an elite now that look down on us all. Richard is saying to us here, the BBC needs breaking up. I totally agree. Yep. They started this years ago by putting parts of it around the country now and taking it all away from the BBC headquarters at the Donut in White City. Why didn't they just finish the job there and just go for it then? Because they know, I feel that they know that as soon as they go to a subscription service, they're down, they're gone, they're out. They won't be able to avoid lots of stuff, you know. And thank you huge much for Cute Pyro 0 for your super chat. Really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Guess what I have in my pocket? A packet of jelly beans, babies. Anyone wants some? I have plenty to share around. All the Whoview fans. Keep safe, everybody. Thank you for that.
If only you could pass them round online, that'd be superb.
Because we would need them now. We would need them right now, wouldn't we, for this topic? We would really need them. And Mark is joining us just to remind us. Hello, Mark. Mark Jones, remembering Terry Nation, who would be 94 on August the 8th, and Peter Cushing, who passed away this day, 1994. Oh, that's quite nice. Thank you for that.
Talking of Peter Cushing, just to remind you, JT, tomorrow night on Talking Pictures TV, that movie, I've forgotten the name of it now, with Peter Cushing in it, Cash on Demand, is on at 9 o'clock on Talking Pictures TV tomorrow night.
Thank you so much. Please do remind me tomorrow as well. I'm going to watch that because I've got a night off, so that's fantastic. What else we got here in the chat from you? Nathan, hello, nice to see you. There's Mrs. Lisa Pertwee's gal. So nice to see you. Thank you very much. And Matt is saying to us, all right, La, the BBC is just the WEF New Labour mouthpiece. Okay. And Neville is saying Ian's going to have his collar felt.
And not in a nice way. That's it.
Exactly, yeah. And John Mason is saying to us all, you chaps are encouraging a knock on your doors. It's terrifying to think it, isn't it, everybody? Honestly, absolutely. But I think I did say on this show, it more or less said in the Labour Party manifesto that they were in favour of compelled speech. You know, and it wasn't just the pronoun stuff as well. And I just remember thinking, here we go, this is going to be a rough 5 years. Michael Hallis is in the chat as well. Thank you, Michael, for your comment there, which for some reason it won't let me click on, but never mind. Thank you for your chat. And Daz Blue is with us as well. The BBC is completely the BBC is completely trustworthy, or the Ministry of Truth as it is now known. Praise our glorious leader.
Yes.
Rich is pointing out as well that we all know, especially this week, that we are all hard right according to the mainstream media. Yeah.
It's very bizarre this week. Very bizarre that a lot of the main newspapers, and who reads newspapers anyway? They're desperate to stay alive, aren't they? But
that's one of the problems for that industry, isn't it? The fact that
you
young
normally
people
have the Daily Mail, who is completely opposite to the Guardian. They could not be more opposite. And you had them and others, and they all pretty much had the same headline. And I try very hard not to believe in conspiracies, and then you see things like that, and you think, come on.
Yeah.
There's coordination going on in the background to control the message.
Yeah.
And that's why they hate X as a platform so much.
Yeah, because it's sort of
Musk has been really baiting Keir Starmer. It's been quite funny this week.
Again, it's a reason why I've started to use the word elite, because we are the great unwashed across the United Kingdom now, and decent people like ourselves who have concerns about various issues in our country, from the culture wars onwards, are now always targeted and as the far right. And that's going to please an awful lot of people in Doctor Who fandom who have been accusing some of us of that of 7 years. It's just going to double down now. It's a really bad example to go. And this time it comes from the Premier of the United Kingdom. What a ridiculous thing for him to have said. John is, hi Desert 004, BBC are full of PDF files. It's a fact. And hello to you. And John is saying, I lost all trust in the BBC years ago. Well, didn't we all? And Paul Ashworth, thank you so much for your super chat there. With Lisa Nandy Pandy is a lightweight, the BBC will laugh at her. It doesn't seem like they are, to be honest. It seems to be that they're actually enjoying the support. From what I've heard, they're quite pleased to have a government now that isn't going to criticize them and isn't going to question them as ferociously as their predecessors did, as the previous government did. This one are basically going to give them a slap on the wrist and say, you must try harder, because I guarantee if the other lot had got in, the BBC's days would be numbered right now. I guarantee you. And Cute Pyro is also saying to us, nobody trusts the BBC anymore. It comes through on their programming as well, though, as we all know, Doctor Who being an example of this. It's just nonsense.
I was going to say, if you watch Question Time, you can always see where the bias lies in the programming when they ask the questions. That's always very interesting.
Yeah. Thank you so much for all your comments here. But it was right to, I think, to give you a quick update based on the story that came through last week, which we talked about at some length, just to say, look, it's been addressed by our government. And I thought it was good to be able to say, look, we've got to put that in there and put that to you. So the BBC is finally crashing and burning. Should I be surprised? Say X-Man 577. The problem is X-Man 577. The BBC have been crashing and burning for at least 20 years.
Yeah.
And they somehow managed to survive. And guys, I think part of that is simply because of the reputation of the BBC. The fact that all us, our age group, the people that are in power now, grew up with the BBC as it was. And some of these people can't actually see, probably because they don't watch it, how bad it is today. How really bad, and how all these idiots are running it. Do you know what I mean?
Well, you just have to watch. We're talking about repeats, things like the Generation Game on BBC 4 and things like that.
Fabulous.
They're showing lots of classic TV and showing what they made when it was a good company to make TV, and none of it is coming out now at all.
Yeah, no, it's true. Just to let you know, if you're outside the UK, BBC 4 is currently on a Saturday night showing programmes from the old days, from the 70s, the 80s, and into the 90s of what would have been on a Saturday night. And it's good entertainment. It really is good entertainment, and you laugh and you laugh. You've got Brucey or Larry with the Generation Game, Larry Grayson. You've got last night they showed excuse me, the first ever Strictly Come Dancing. They've got Blankety Blank. What else have they got in there? They had a lovely documentary last night with Michael Grade talking about what makes a Saturday night big from years ago, apparently.
Well, he wouldn't know how to do that, to be fair, to be honest. But,
it was really good. He was interviewing lots of BBC controllers, ITV controllers, explaining the battle between ITV and BBC for the Battle of Saturday Night over the decades. And it's 60 years they've been fighting for the Saturday night slots. They were speaking to people like Noel Edmonds. Who else was in there? Bruce was in there because obviously he was alive at the time they did it. Anton Deck, the big names of Saturday night television. Excuse me. And it was one surprise towards the end of it where Grades is sitting with another controller who had done both the BBC and ITV, right, on a Saturday night. And they were talking about what the ideal night would be for Saturday nights if it was to go now. And it was Grade that actually came back and said, and Doctor Who. Oh, yes, Doctor Who, top of the Saturday night schedule. So they both agreed that there was a place for it. There was a place for it. It's so funny.
He's changed his tune, obviously. Yeah. That was a few years ago, though, wasn't it? Though that was a few years.
It was a few years back, but it just shows. It just shows you, doesn't it? He's well aware. Hugh Janus, nice to see you. Thank you very much for your super chat. I don't know if I can say that. This is where we're at now in the UK. Be saying all hail Sir Keir Starmer.
When we're talking about Generation, the game, though, I have to say, I hope you saw it, Ian, was the fantastic cameo with John Pertwee as Dracula. Superb. That was really good. Yeah.
I didn't see it, but
it was only 40 years ago.
You can share the link, and it was great.
It's on the iPlayer. That's why I caught up with it. It was interesting. Yeah.
Dad's Blue was saying to us here, George Orwell was only 40 years out. Again, thank you so much to Janus for that particular one there for your super chat there. Oh, Michael, let's try you again. Oh, I've got this one. So they say, oh no, JT, couldn't show my comments. See you all in 2.5 years. And yet that one worked. The miracles here, I don't know what is going on. It's bizarre.
Technology is great when it works. That's the thing.
But it is, yeah. Sheila B. Hello, what's up, Whovians? I hate that word, Whovians. Sheila B. I'm sorry, just call me a Doctor Who fan. Oh, can't stand it. That makes me sound like a vacuum cleaner. And hi, Desert 004. I'm worried for you guys. So are we. So are we.
Yeah, I mean, the three of us are UK in general. I'm not quite sure.
I think a lot of decent-minded people in the UK are slightly concerned now because at least it's opening up that sort of awareness again. And I know there's an awful lot of people who are just blinkered again, thinking Labour can do no harm. But anyone with any amount of common sense or political awareness could be thinking, hang on a minute, this is a slippery slope we're on here, I think. And John Cartwright is saying, hey up, guys, resubscribed again. Thank you, John. On with the show. Greetings to all. Also, the BBC is rubbish. And Cute Pryor again. Thank you for another super chat. When Elon Musk is a hero, you know the world has gone.
Very true. Very true. Yeah,
that's fabulous. Oh, that's fabulous. So thank you for that. So that was something. I think Digby's with us. Hello, Digby. Nice to see you. I thought that was something to start the show off up and running, everybody. What do you think? It's certainly got you all talking. So that's great. That's what I like to see. It's got you all talking, including Atom. Hello, you. How are you? Hope everything is fine and dandy with you, mate. Hello, all in the chat. It's a lovely day. Hope everyone is doing well and staying safe, considering the state of the world that we're in. So thank you. And another one here from Cute Pryor. Again, thank you so much. The riots around the UK are not just in the UK. We have France, USA, Germany, Poland, etc., etc. We all can't be wrong. Maybe Starmer, maybe just we are not wrong. The problem is,
I did hear that Kim Jong-un in North Korea has offered to take British people as asylum seekers across there, so that they're safe.
God, things must be bad. Yeah,
from the regime here.
I don't suit grey. Not really.
No, you'd match
I can see one of those big hats, though, GT, quite nicely, yeah.
Huge thank you to Digby as well for your super chat. The BBC is a zombie. Sad to see the current state of RTD, who is a prime example. Isn't it just? It is a massively big example of that, Digby. You're absolutely right. And yeah, I mean, and there's nothing we can do about it. As we were looking in the chat, we're going to be coming to this in the chat very shortly. And seeing the fact that they're just ignoring everything we're saying and ignoring the proof of the pudding, that they've been given very, very clearly when it comes to ratings and feedback, which they are not looking at. IN is with us. What's the alternative to the BBC? Handing more power to the likes of Murdoch, whose media has perpetrated disgusting lies like Hillsborough. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. The alternative, though, to the BBC is they're out there already, IN. So it's just a case of bringing the BBC up to scratch and making it a service that isn't enforced on us. They've lost over 2,400,000 license fee payers in the last few years. Now, that's a big, clear message, I think, to the BBC.
I agree with the comments about Murdoch and the disgusting lies, but to be quite honest, over the last few years, the BBC has itself perpetrated quite a few shocking untruths or concealed quite a lot as well. And I would say that they're all pretty much on the same level of disgraceful, really.
Yeah, I mean, what happened back then, of course, will never be forgotten or forgotten. No. Certainly by a lot of us, will it? Never. We're never going to forgive. We're never going to forget. And that's the end of that, quite frankly. But you've got, as I say, the fact is, I don't watch anything to do with the BBC, really. I don't have a TV license fee now, so I cancelled it all. If I want to see something like Doctor Who, which I only review for this show, I'll go to Family to watch it because they do still have a TV license. But lots of people have cancelled it, sending a huge message. Probably may still even be watching the stuff, but when you look at its output, who would want to pay for that anyway? So I think what's going to happen there is at some point they're going to have to go through some sort of subscription model. Even RTD mentioned this a few months ago, didn't we? We covered it on this show. He thinks it's the day's coming as well, and he's a big supporter of the BBC, as we all know. But that will be, I think, the day where the BBC suddenly realise whether or not they have an audience. So there we go. We'll move on though, everybody. So thank you so much for joining us. Lots of you in the chat, and I'm glad that one started off well with all of you. But I did want to address the balance there. Doctor Who, though, as we know, can be, when done correctly, he added editorially, a huge money spinner. And not just for BBC Studios and the BBC. We know, of course, that the leading actors that have been in Doctor Who since 2005 have done particularly well. Some of them especially have done very well out of Doctor Who. Some of them have used the show to launch careers out of the UK, especially in the elusive market called the United States of America. Well, recently it came out, of course, that Mr. Gatwa has joined those millionaire ranks now. I don't know if you saw this, but let's get into it. From Mail Online, Doctor Who star Ncuti Gatwa doubles his fortune thanks to his huge TV role, despite ratings drop. You see, there it is again. Can you imagine being in the production office of Doctor Who within Bad Wolf or working within the BBC Studios? And I'm sure they still will get these papers delivered to them. I'm sure they all have to go through it. And you see that headline there, despite the ratings drop. Let's get into it. It says here, Doctor Who star Ncuti Gatwa has reportedly doubled his fortune thanks to his huge role as the Time Lord. The actor, 31, made his debut in the BBC sci-fi series earlier this year. And though things might not be too peachy amid the dropping ratings, his bank balance is certainly flourishing. Ncuti has apparently seen his earnings double to 1.9 million, according to The Sun, adding to the cash he'd already raked in from former roles, including his part in Netflix teen comedy Sex Education. Ncuti has apparently seen his... There we go. The publication reports that the Rwandan Scottish TV star paid himself a handsome wage of £700,000 from the money earned through his company Gemini Moon. A source told The Sun landing one of the most sought-after roles on TV was always going to help Ncuti's career and earning power. So again, as I said the other week here, guys, even though this latest reiteration of the show was, in our eyes, a flop, even though the last few years have been, in our eyes, a flop, there's money still to be made out of it somehow. And I just don't understand why. Why are people who aren't necessarily being successful in a job being rewarded?
Well, you better make the most of it because it's not going to last, is it? Let's be honest.
I think a large chunk of that will be his contract that Bad Wolf / BBC have given him to secure his services such as they are for a couple of years. But it does show that you don't necessarily have to be good at your job talented or anything positive in order to make money. It's sad, really.
And where's this? I mean, why do they suddenly all have? We know Tennant's got one as well. Why do they suddenly all have their own company? Are they actually? Are they? You know. Okay, let's investigate this and correct me, who viewers. Okay, because I'm bound to be wrong on this point. Hands up. But in my day, you had an agent, and if you were offered a role, the agent on your behalf would negotiate your fee and then take a percentage cut out of that fee. So it could usually be a little bit more so that they could get a healthy bit of that wage as well for finding you the job. Are we now saying that there's an agent, the actor, and then the actor's company, and is the money from the wage going to the actor's company?
It's a tax evasion, allegedly, I'm sure.
That's what I think it is.
Yeah.
Is that what's happening, though? Has anyone... We got any actors? We got any actors here who can tell us in the chat? Because I don't understand.
People can do it sometimes that aren't actors, that are self-employed, and they use the services of what's called an umbrella company, and they can legally avoid paying. I think it's there's a tax office rule called IR35, and they can avoid paying an awful lot of tax that the rest of us plebs just have to fork out for, but they can dodge it. So, you know, you might earn 10 grand in a year. Hopefully you'd earn more than that, but 10 grand in a year, that's below the tax threshold anyway. But 100 grand, a third of it you put a third away for tax, you put a third away for your savings, and you live off the other third, don't they? And so I think when they go through an umbrella company in IR35, I think that 33% for tax is probably reduced to something like 10, if not more. So It's, in my opinion, and I would share what Paul's saying, allegedly, it's a tax dodge. Although if it's legal, is it really a dodge? Don't know.
Well, if it's legal, no, it's not.
No.
You know, that's the problem, you know, and we have to put that out there. The fact is, if it doesn't break the law, it's legal.
It's a loophole, put it that way. So.
Yeah. Got lots of you again commenting on this particular story tonight here on Headlines. Paul Richards Gatwa is rewarded for a lousy performance. That's my point completely. You know, and goodness knows how much the actual people like the showrunner and the producers and the executive producers are earning, and how much. Where's the money coming in? It must be the money coming in from the distribution deal, possibly.
There's also the extracurricular activity like conventions and stuff like that, and fees for that and things like that. So lots of things build up, don't they?
Yes, and of course he's the first Doctor, first actor playing the Doctor who's been allowed to go to the conventions while actually in the role. So we believe. So
it was 150 quid just to say hello or something like that, was it? Yeah.
Something like that, because of course he's at the Comic-Con in London in a few months' time, isn't he? And he's charging huge prices for that, as we've covered here on Headlines. But technically, he's out of contract. So they've bent the rules a little bit there, because now it's gone to Bad Wolf, haven't they? Digby is saying to us here, is Ncuti a millionaire in nectar points? And to Sydney,
that's worth like £2.50 at least, I would say. Yeah.
So Sydney Rough Diamond, hello to you. It's all a hustle. Meritocracy no longer exists. Atom is saying Ncuti becoming a millionaire is failing up. And Gatwa is a joke, says High Desert 004. Not much love for this in the chat.
With Raymond, tax, I thought, sorry, JT, I thought it was quite funny a few years back. I know it's America, but Trump and Hillary Clinton were doing the face-off in that election that Trump won. And she accused him of avoiding paying so much tax. And he just turned round to her and said, of course I do. I do exactly that, because I'm using the rules that your previous government brought in. he just shut her up completely. It was quite funny. She was doing it as well, but she wanted to point the finger at him. But of course, he then just rounded and said, "Well, you brought these rules in."
It's around about this time that all this stuff, this nonsense started, isn't it? All this accusation and name calling and labeling and all this. It's all about around about then that all this nonsense came in. Raymond Williams is saying to us here, Ncuti has as much talent as Katie Price, and Stephen Braddock is saying, "Well, that's all right then." Peter Venkman fan site. I doubt it's because of who.
Yeah.
Well, what else could it be though? He did very well out of the Netflix show. I know that. But was it well enough? Was it enough?
I would be interested to see how much he's getting paid for the Doctor, just based on what Tennant or Capaldi got, because he did get a reasonable amount of money from that originally, if that makes sense.
Well, we all know that the Smith, Capaldi, and Whittaker all got the same, because there was that fuss in the paper, which was brought down very, very quickly, of course, when it was suggested in the media that Whittaker may not be on as much as Capaldi, and the BBC were very swift to say no, she's getting exactly the same. So what else we got here? Gatwa insults the fans and delivers a bad performance, but gets rewarded, says Paul Richards. Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, because that's what they do. Matt Smith only got 250,000, says Raymond Williams. Gatwa could not tie his laces. And Eastland's with us. Hello, Eastland. Do not pay, so says an American rebel. Can't dump the tea into the ocean while cosplaying Indians. Have to come up with a different dress code or costume. Thank you for your comment. There you go. Fine. People like to watch a train wreck, says Terrified Monk. And Nibbles is saying this is all probably from his £200 autographs.
Yeah.
We've got another one here from Stephen Braddock saying to us, don't spend it too quickly, Gatwa, because you've got no talent to make it last.
My sentiments exactly. Yeah.
And what we've got here as well, until Doctor Who can go back to its roots, says Legion of James, and respects its legacy, returning to what made it great, anything coming next, even fan-produced, if deviates from classic legacy, is not Doctor Who. Russell T Davies would really take you on about that, of course, wouldn't he, mate? But we're coming to Russell T Davies shortly. Cute Briar and Pryor, super chat there. Thank you so much. Where can I sign up and can I cry all day for millions? That's a good point, isn't it? Getting paid millions and millions and millions and millions, apparently, allegedly, or did that an actually really good salary to play against these terrible scripts and just cry every week.
Yeah,
I can do that.
I think we all can. Yeah, for that kind of money, certainly. Yeah,
I could do it now if I think about the state of the thing. I could love it any minute now. Really could. Atom is saying, why are people who aren't getting any good ratings or good at your job making a lot of money? The correct ideology. That's why they have the approved, sanitized leftist stance. There's definitely seals of approval going on here. This is why I'm starting to use the word the elite more.
It's interesting though, because when you cast a new actor to be the Doctor, often the unknown people or whatever, and they get like maybe a reduced fee to start off with. If they become popular, they get more money. Well, they do the reverse with Ncuti and give him less for next season because it's crap. How does that work?
I don't know. I honestly don't know what they're doing.
They should pay us, really.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. They should be paying us to watch that awful nonsense. But there you go. It's all coming again. Marjorie is saying
it's not going to be from merchandise, is it?
No.
Well, no, because the merchandise isn't even hitting, is it? Let's face it. Marjorie is saying to us, David Tennant's net worth is £7 million after 20 plus years in the business. I suppose as well at this point, they will also get paid. I don't think Tennant's doing it as well, but he can now command quite a lot of money just for doing a series because they're all thinking he's popular still. Now, I have to point out, and I know the David Tennant fans don't like me for saying this because I've had them on my back this week. He's not as popular as he was because he's absolutely done what they tend to do. He's split and divided his audience by coming out with some incredible, idiotic suggestions in speeches that have been huge on YouTube. He's been criticized.
What he doesn't do, though, he's not very choosy of what projects he takes on. I think more recently he's doing this Jilly Cooper Rivals drama thing, and that looks pretty awful.
Yeah.
And just as we've just looked at Silurians, I'd just like to refer to that previous comment and say he's not really worth 7 million pins, is he? Really?
No, not really. Not really. Do you know?
If he doesn't work, yeah.
Philip's joining us. Hope the film is going all right with your film, mate. Nice to see you.
Looking forward to it, Phil. Definitely, yeah.
We're all looking forward to it. We're going to be doing a review on it as soon as we see it. It's in his contract that he gets a bonus every time he cries on screen. Well, that's why that's minted. That's why he's minted. That's all it is to it. Paul, you mentioned that the new Tennant thing. I wasn't going to bother with it, actually. I was so excited to hear that Jilly Cooper's Rivals was coming to telly because I thought a bit of entertainment, a bit of the old slap and tickle. Just what I need on a Sunday afternoon or Sunday evening, like they did in the old days. Yes, I would watch that. And then I saw he was in it and thought, I'm not watching it.
It doesn't
Not a
look
waste of
very
time.
good, I have to say, though, but yeah.
Because, of course, Julie Cooper's source material is raunch.
Yes.
I remember when they tried back in the 80s and 90s, tried to put them in places where people couldn't see them because they were very naughty. And now you look at it, I think they're tame as the
Yeah, it's like be on Channel 5 with a red triangle in the corner.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
But I just can't. I'm just not going to watch it because he's in it. I just can't be bothered watching his arrogant ass all over the blooming screen. I just can't. Daryl is saying to us, hello, Daryl, our resident artist, one of our resident artists here. Whittaker got the same fee for less episodes. Capaldi suffered from the pay gap there. Oh, yeah, I've forgotten that. They reduced all her episodes, didn't they? That's a good point. Interesting. What's Digby saying here? Gatwa has the Barbie gig, Netflix, and the Oscar appearance. Just think of where Whittaker is now. Well, she's with Bog Fanish, isn't she?
Yeah. So she'll make 20 quid there, we thought, yeah. So.
Have I just been naughty and controversial? Good. That's what I say. Good. So that's great. And what we got here as well. I can say hi, babes and honey for a cool million. I couldn't.
You notice he's now kind of they've shortened his name to Shoots. That's why I put in my high Shoots in my thing. They call him Shoots now. Yeah, that's so late. His name's Shooty, for God's sake. How often? I'm difficult to say.
Can you imagine?
Hi, Shoots.
Why do they have to do all this? It's like that babe stuff, isn't it? And all that. Yeah. Why do they have to do this? Honestly, I can't be done with any of it. It's not
Shoots in Docky Who.
Yeah. Anyone remember Lace, says Matt Burrows? Oh, yes. I remember Lace. Fabulous. That's the sort of thing I'm talking about, Matt. You know, on a Sunday night, around about 8 o'clock or something like that, when you've got your Horlicks. Oh, yes, please.
It would be after. It'd be named after the watershed, surely. It would know.
Well, they won't be that bad, would they now? Because people, I mean, you get all this, thanks to things like Queer as Folk and stuff now from 1999 with Russell, you get all that sort of graphic stuff. Nobody bats
It's more like Confessions of a Window Cleaner now, isn't it? That kind of thing. Like that.
Yeah.
Allegedly. Never seen
Lace,
it before.
I loved. And Richard saying Lace with Phoebe Cates. She was in it, wasn't she? Actually, one of her first TVs, wasn't it? Yeah. I think it was one of her first TVs. Rick Storm, you're being very naughty. And I'm not going to put that on you. Well, I will, but I'm not going to read it out because that's naughty. There you go. Right. But yes, that's another one that's got you all going. She was Kate in Gremlins, says Richard Tusty. That's right, yeah. RTD said he's aiming Doctor Who at the TikTok generation, and it shows, says Paul. The problem is with TikTok, though, of course, is that it's just nonsense, isn't it? But let's get into that now, shall we? Let's investigate that, shall we, mate? Because we have had Jane Tranter out and about. Now, Jane Tranter, as you know, is one of the founders and partners and of Bad Wolf and executive producer of this new version of Doctor Who. You know her. There's a picture from a few years ago where she was at San Diego. Now, Bad Wolf, of course, do an awful lot of programming. And she was on the media circuit recently talking about another show. Now, some of you may know this. I've never heard of it, and I don't know it. But it's a show called Industry. Bad Wolf's Jane Tranter talks Industry Season 3, bold storytelling, and Doctor Who's Disney Plus revival to Deadline, and reported by Katie Campione. I think I'm saying that right there. The E might be silent, but hopefully, Katie, you will forgive me. At the very end of this, let me just say to this is all about this show I've never heard of, Industry. Apparently, it's on its third season and stuff like that, and it's a popular show. Who's heard of it in the chat? I certainly haven't.
I've never heard of it, no.
Well, it mustn't be on here in Britain, guys. Unless it's on Sky or something like that, but it's certainly not reached us, is it? But towards the end of the interview, having done all the Industry stuff, of course, she does ask the question, of course, about Doctor Who, and she gets into it, doesn't she? Deadline. Bad Wolf also produces Doctor Who for Disney Plus. How have you felt about the reception to the first new season on Disney Plus? And what do you think about its longevity? Now, that's actually a good question. That's the sort of question I would ask if I had somebody like Jane Tranter or Russell T Davies or Ncuti Gatwa in front of me. That's a good question. I like that. The answer, though, was as weak as water, because Tranter replies, "We feel good about the first season. Just as Industry was a really small experiment at the start, I think this new building of the franchise between the BBC and Disney Plus, it's a whole new iteration, and us all coming back all these years later to do it, it was a whole new adventure. We're really pleased with the show that we've made, and that there is a whole new audience being driven to the show who haven't watched Doctor Who in the past. Has been exactly what Russell set out to do. So that's really good. We announced last week that we're doing The War Between the Land and the Sea, which is the first time there's a mini-series within the whole universe. So we're thrilled that the BBC and Disney Plus have awarded us that to do. We're still in the edit, very early days of the edit for season 2, which obviously won't go out for another year or so. It's very exciting. We're right in the middle of the journey, and it's very exhilarating. There's the party line again, everybody.
Yeah, they've got new viewers coming to have not watched it before, but all the old viewers have left.
Why is it obvious that it won't go out for another year or so? Why is it obvious? Because it shouldn't, should it? It should be 10 months at most. Earlier.
I think they're in the context of that. In the context that we're still in the edit, very early days of the edit, which obviously won't go out for another year or so. I think she means there because they're still in the edit. Obviously, it's not going to go out because they're still in the edit. But it's that bit there about for another year or so that I think people should be looking at there. What does she mean with that? Is it going to be on next year? Russell seems to think it's going to be on in 2025. Jane Tranter, maybe not too sure.
Oh, God, they can't drag it any longer, for God's sake. Get it out and get it finished.
Well, yeah.
If you're pardon the expression. So.
But again, they're talking about this mythical new audience they're looking at, which has not happened. It has not happened, but they're continuing to push it out, aren't they? They're going to stick with that. Oh, yeah, we've got this new audience now. Where? On the back of a 2p. I mean, where is it? I mean, come on. It's absolutely nonsense. Stephen is saying to us, oh, damn, I thought we were going to get some sense out of Jane Tranter, but no, towing the party line. Exactly. Peter Venkman, fan site, is saying, driven off the cliffs, she means. Garbage is saying to us here, there's a whole new audience. Nope. We was promised for everyone that leaves, 3 new people will watch. Well, yeah. It's cancelled, said Raymond Williams. That's what you're getting out of that, is it, Raymond? Is it? And Digby is saying to us, according to the interwebs, industry is about millennials working in finance around the time of the 2008 crash. We'll fix it in post, says Peter Venkman.
They're a little bit like, I don't know if we can say his name on here, but he controlled Germany in the late 30s and up to
no, we can't. Apparently, we're not allowed.
He looks a bit like Charlie Chaplin. That one.
He looks a bit like Charlie Chaplin, and Charlie Chaplin did a film Pastiche him, which he hated.
Yeah, we're not allowed to say his name, but people will know who he is.
Towards the end, April, May 1945, he was in his bunker and he was issuing orders to armies that didn't exist because they'd been wiped out. And it seems a little bit like Bad Wolf and all the raging lefty bedwetters that go with them that are saying, you know, for everyone that leaves, there's going to be another 3 and we're getting these massive ratings. They aren't, they don't exist. And the German chappie was doing it because he was absolutely mentally deranged at that point. And you do wonder about these people because this audience doesn't exist. These people aren't there. They're not real, but they're still producing stuff for them and talking about them. And why would you do that unless you are absolutely off your rocker? Really?
To carry on your analogy, does that mean there's a bunker in Cardiff? Fingers crossed, you know?
Well, with all the bad press they've got, I think they probably are down in a bunker because they're not listening to anything out on the street, are they? They're not.
No,
they're not reading the room.
We've been told since 2017 that Doctor Who is now not for any of us. It's for a new audience. It's not there. Even the audience of I don't know what to say now, but even the small audience that joined for Jodie Whittaker and stayed with her for the 3 years she was in the show, or whatever long she did it, they've gone, you know, because it wasn't pushing out the inside of stuff more, was it? Really, they've gone. Legion of James is saying their cope is just embarrassing at this point. And what does she mean? A whole new audience being driven to the show, says Atom. Exactly. But they
driven by force.
Gunpoint.
They've been saying it and saying it. It's as though at some point, if they keep saying it, we're all going to say, oh, there's a brand new audience for Doctor Who. And the time's coming. I reckon in 2025, on one of our review shows, I will be celebrating the fact that I get the ratings game right with 1.9. Honestly, it's going to get there. I really do believe.
And I bet you get a pencil as well. I bet you do.
Yeah, Komodo, you are right. Nice to see you in there as well. And bring on the season 2 YouTube reviews are so entertaining. Well, thank you, Rick, for that. But please don't bring them on too soon because I can't go through another 8 weeks of that nonsense.
Oh,
The
no,
next one,
yeah,
of course, when we're looking at Gatwa, will be Christmas with the Christmas episode that's coming on.
Joy to the world. Oh,
I'm
God.
so excited about that. Yes, Julianne's joining us. Hello, Julianne. Lovely to see you. I thought the leak it was going out in March. Are they going to drag this out like fish entrails? Oh, why do I just suddenly think of the pescatons? I'm not sure.
It's not as good as that.
No, it's not as good. Oh, I love the pescatons.
Yeah, love
As you can tell, because Paul and I did a review of it, didn't we, Paul? And you can go and
we
look
did.
at
It's
that.
a great listen.
Yeah,
and watch.
It's on the Sound of Hoosick playlist. And we're doing another one of those soon, so stay tuned. Digby Strawbridge, who is in a bad way. It's not controversy that the story's about the show now. It's that it's silly, dumb, it's crap. Who'd want to watch a spin-off of that? Well, unfortunately, we are. We're going to be watching it to review it for this channel. I'm not fussed about it at all. I'm quite happy to miss it, but it's content for the channel, so we're going to watch it quite bluntly. Do you know what I mean? See what you guys think about it as well. If you don't watch it, come and have a laugh as we tell you what we think about the 5. Was it 5 or 6 episodes?
Let's hope it's just 5.
I think it was just 5, wasn't it? I can't remember now because I'm really not
we
paying
were
attention.
talking about it going out Monday to Friday, weren't we, or something like that?
Oh yeah, no.
Straight to iPlayer, yeah.
Stephen Braddock is saying to us, Jane Tranter, Doctor Who is safe. I'll explain later. Yep. And Babette Bontel, the writing and production quality of Apple TV's Time Bandits TV series is a zillion times better than current Doctor Who. I can't comment because I'm not interested. The film was I'm quite happy with that original film.
The film's superb. What I've seen photograph-wise of the TV show looks dreadful. Really.
Yeah. More like driven away from the show, says Dalek Eye. Absolutely. And Garbage is also saying to us, was Jane saying they are editing series 2 and the spin-off, but won't be out for at least a year? What she's saying there, and I'll bring this up for you again here. Let's have a look at that again. What she's saying in context there, we're thrilled that the BBC and Disney Plus have awarded us that to do, be the spin-off. We're still in the very early days of the edit of series 2. So she's talking about series 2. Now, this obviously won't go out for another year or so. It's very exciting. So, yeah, I mean, Russell seems to think it's definitely going out next year. Jane's playing a bit more on the fence to say, well, it depends when the BBC and Disney want it. We do know that Disney, of course, have funded Series 2 as part of that big deal, and the Sea Devil thing, the spin-off. What would happen, everybody, if they put the Sea Devil thing on next year and Doctor Who Series 2 on the year after? Just throwing it out there. You can let me know at whosviews1@gmail.com or on the comments section what you would think about that. But I'm throwing it out there because it could happen. They could have so many episodes a year. They don't need to do it as event television over 5 nights. They could do it over 5 weeks for the Sea Devil thing.
That means we could have shoot it till 2030. God help us. Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because that'll be still a year. That'll be still a year. So sometimes I think they do how many years? Oh, he's got to do 4 so he fits in with the others. And they did in the old days. They did take time off, didn't they? You know, Capaldi had a year off. Smith had a year off. Well, they didn't. They filmed it, but the production was off for a year.
They did originally claim there'd be no gap years, apparently, but I think that was when they were optimistic about it, though, wasn't it?
But the problem is, though, if you're getting a spin-off, even though it's not the main show, it's not a gap year for them, is it?
I suppose it's not, no.
Fish and tails are far more appealing, says Rick Storm.
I would say so, yes. Yeah.
And a High Desert 004 is, does anyone have kids who still watch Doctor Who? That's a serious question. So if you are in our chat, I know a couple of you do have little ones there. I also know that some of them, High Desert, are not letting them watch Doctor Who until they've watched them. So can you answer him? Or I'm assuming you're a him. Oh, my God. Can you answer High Desert 004 in the chat? Are any of the kids still watching Doctor Who? There's not many.
And what do the kids think of it? What do the kids think of it? I mean, if they are allowed to watch it eventually and they think it's okay to watch, what do they think of it? Is it grabbing their attention? Is it making them engaged with it? What's going on? You know?
Matthew is here with us saying it's 5 episodes. Thanks, Matt. I appreciate that. I'm obviously not interested. I mean, I know they could do it Monday to Friday, which is what I originally thought they would do. But with Jane saying that little thing now, it's probably a throwaway comment, isn't it, really? Russell is determined to get Series 2 out next year, and I think he'll get his way.
I think they have to, because I don't think whether or not people like Ncuti as the Doctor, if they leave it too late, they're stretching it too far. He's already not made an impression for me. So the longer they leave it, you make even less of an impression, don't you think?
No, I don't. I think Christmas will be a big, interesting viewpoint when it comes to the rating as well, because it hasn't had any impact at all in the UK, and we've got bigger fish to fry right now here in the UK. Doctor Who is just a small thing now. It's not bringing people into the show. It's not making people sit down and watch. I don't care what they say about the iPlayer stuff. We've been through that over and over again. It's not a thing here in the UK anymore. It's gone. It's had its day. It's done. I won't be watching Time Bandits, says John Mason. And here's an answer. Rick is saying, my kids gave up as soon as Jodie Whittaker took over. And my niece says Legion of James is 13 and my nephew is 11. Doctor Who is a non-entity for them.
That's a real shame.
It is. It really, really is. Yeah, really, really is. But I'm not surprised at all. Stephen Braddock is saying to us, that sounds like we are only getting the Sea Devil thing next year. Sounds fishy to me. I don't think we will, though. I think we get the Doctor Who season 2 because it's almost done. It's in the can, and they're editing, as she says there. So we will be getting 5 next year, I'm sure. 8 episodes of that next year. Mark, hello, Mark. Mark McIntosh is saying, I have a 14-year-old and a 16-year-old, and they're not remotely interested in the last series of Doctor Who.
But I bet they love Blake 7, though. Do they? I bet they do.
Yeah. It is a shame, though, when you hear this, but it's not a surprise to any of us. And yeah, the BBC social media still insists that everything is fine and dandy. The state of the BBC Doctor Who social media today. Have you seen the nonsense? This was one of this week's, proving that not just the 15th incarnation of the Doctor cries, but all the others do too. That's what they were trying to do here with this weak as water montage of what this was about.
I'm sorry, they've got them in the wrong order. What's going on there? What's
yes,
going
well,
on?
that was a huge complaint for a lot of them. A lot of fans did complain here. A lot of them came on and said, you've got them in the wrong order and you've missed the second Tennant Doctor. It's just social media, kids. Calm down.
How nice it would be if it was Capaldi still at the bottom. That would be nice.
Yeah. But they were just showing that this was a point out there. They're obviously aware of the criticism. This I take as being a point that the Doctor has cried in all his modern versions. That's why it's still not original Doctor Who in my eyes.
No.
Because it very rarely happens. You might have got a little glint when Joe Grant leaves the third Doctor.
Yeah.
No.
But less is more. You look at Joe Grant or look at the War Games or Planet Spiders when John regenerates, spoiler there, and things like that. There's kind of this, lots of emotional moments without being too over the top. It's like.
Terrified Monk is saying to us here, well, I love this. I'm seeing a trend in the chat. So am I. It's interesting, isn't it? And Julianne is also saying they all cry, but not all the time. Julianne, this is the thing that always got me about the Doctor in this modern version. Shouldn't be crying at all.
Well, I remember, you guys, when I watched that one of Eccleston from End of the World, when he cries, when he's talking to, is it Jabe, the tree woman, and he cries, and that was really impactful because you hadn't seen it before. I thought that was quite good. I quite liked that.
I know what you're saying about that. What I got at that scene is so. I mean, okay, I'm going to slightly contradict myself. I wasn't happy with that, but that's when I knew something dreadful had happened in the Doctor's life.
Yeah.
And at the end of that episode, of course, it's gone. So it was building up to that revelation for us as old-term fans coming back to a new version of the show. Gallifrey's gone. Now, that was a massive impact for all of us original fans. Do you remember?
Yeah.
That's when I'm thinking, they've gone down the New Adventures route. It's going to be something like that now, as well as the soap opera element that I was getting from that episode already. It's going to be like this. So I can forgive that scene because that must have been, even for an alien, when you lose your home world, you can't imagine, can you? Because from our point of view, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But do you know what I mean?
Touch wood.
So I can sort of forgive that element of the Doctor's character in that scene because it was for the audience as well, even a new audience to come through saying there's something wrong here, and then it was explained just a few short scenes later. So I thought that was nicely done, and it was a shock.
Yeah.
But the rest of the time, You know, that
Well,
whole thing where
the
he's
one with
talking
Tennant
about
from
Rose and all that. Oh, please.
Yeah, I said the one with Tennant's crying about Rose, you know, being trapped in the parallel universe and all that kind of stuff. Is like, oh, please, yeah.
Couldn't be done with it. Couldn't be done with
The,
it.
the Doctor didn't cry when Susan left, or when he was caught by the Time
He was really
Lords.
pleased, I think, to get some more space. I think in the TARDIS. I think.
And Jamie and Zoe were sent back and had their memories wiped. He just said it's sad, and Pertwee, you know, we saw it in the book. It was mentioned in the book about a single tear and everything, and that stuck with me. But I don't think it was a thing in the program, was it?
Yeah.
And when Romana left, but when Leela left with the first K9, the Doctor just sort of like shut the TARDIS door, stood against him, and said, "I'll miss you too, Savage," and that was it.
Well, even
when Adric died, you know,
yeah.
but no tears. But now they just want to make them as wet as the people that write the stories.
It's because they want the Doctor to be relatable, and they've destroyed the human element from him, in my opinion. Because
it was never about relating to the Doctor, was it? That's what the companion was for.
Yes,
they got even get an example, the Hand of Fear, the moment when he says goodbye to Sarah. That is beautifully played.
Yes.
And really highly charged emotion without a tear in sight. That's brilliant.
Exactly.
Right.
And yet, also you mentioned it very briefly there, Ian, but one of the most powerful companion exits for me is saying goodbye to Romana at the gateway. Because that's two Time Lords on a level playing field going their separate ways. And it's played beautifully. That's the alienness. No goodbyes, no fusses. See you later.
My favourite moment is not a companion goodbye, but it's Pertwee in Planet of Spiders when the Great One makes him afraid. That is really when he's filling up, but you can see the tears in his eyes, and he's terrified of what's going to come.
Pain
and that's
as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's through pain.
That is real emotion. That's really well done, and it was so rare to happen. It was perfectly played as well,
especially to the mighty Pertwee's Doctor. A grounded, powerful, in a sense, Doctor, a very confident Doctor.
Yeah,
but to see him dying from the inside out. Hence all that. Beautifully played. You're right. I just want to say a huge thank you to Babette Bombshell for this comment to us, guys. Just wanted to take a second to tell everyone how much I value and cherish this space and all of your friendship. It's healed a lot of toxicity left over from the Chibnall era. Thank you all. Well, that's nice to hear. So thank you, Babette. Thank you so much for that. We do appreciate that. There's a lot of healing still to come, I think, because they're doubling down now, aren't they? And there's more happening now, and it's still separating fandom, and fandom is still a mess. And there's still a lot of people at each other's. You know, you can't have a criticism at all. I mean, we get it on this show an awful lot, and that's fine. All opinions welcome. That is absolutely fine, and certainly we can deal with it. But you've got to agree to disagree. And from my point of view, this is not Doctor Who I've been forced to watch it this year. It's not Doctor Who at all. I don't recognize who that fella is at all. I can't see it. And something tells me I'm not going to, because the second series was filmed right on the back of the first one. Thank you, Nathan. Nice to see you. Nathan Huggins is here. Teary, but no crime mixed Doctor. Very weak character. Totally. And Paul is agreeing with you by saying New Who humanizes the Doctor because the writers don't understand the characterization.
Yeah,
I agree
with
that.
Which is bizarre considering they're all fans, which makes it really bizarre.
Allegedly, they're all fans.
Yeah.
And Bill's with us. Hello, Bill. Bill Lowry's here. The Doctor isn't human. Stop trying to humanize him. It's too late, my friend. It's been done. And I think that's part of the reason, not only fandom leaving the show, but I think it's part of the reason the great British public has left the show. Because the great British public know that the Doctor is a Time Lord from the planet Gallifrey. And that's part of the attraction. They know they're not going to get all this nonsense that they can get in EastEnders, Coronation Street, or any other show you want to name now. You know?
Well, he's an adopted Time Lord, apparently, now.
Yeah. Yeah. I like this one. Thank you, Terrified Monk. And I like this one from Dalek Eye. It's the two-tier Doctor. A lot of talk about that this week, wasn't it? But I like the way you've done that.
Very clever.
Yeah. Look who's joining us. It's Yokai63. Nice to see you. We should never see the Doctor cry. This is sentimental nonsense. Tear-jerking for the sake of it. Totally. It's to try and get some sort of emotional response from whatever's going on the from the viewer. But the problem is there is no public viewer there now, RTD. It doesn't work anymore. You've got to knock it off. You've got to write him as the Doctor, and you haven't, and you're losing viewers, and it's just going to get worse, isn't it? It's going to get worse and worse and worse. Okay, yeah. Everything all right, Ian?
Yeah.
Great.
I'm just looking at what's going on in the chat there. It's quite active, isn't it?
Fantastic. It is. It's wonderful to see you all. So thank you so much for this. And I'm glad you're enjoying all this chat. I've been looking forward to this actually today, everybody. Sadeko24 is joining us now as well with a hi all. It is lovely to see you as well. So that's that bit from Jane Tranter. We're going to go back very quickly. Over the last couple of weeks, we have been looking at the SDCC, the San Diego Comic-Con, which has been the gift that keeps on giving for here on Headlines on Who's Views. And yes, this week we were gifted with something else. Now, I'm going to be very upfront and honest with you, panel, and I'm going to be very upfront and honest with you, Who viewers. I have tried to watch this pile of nonsense several times. I can't watch it. I wanted to talk about it here on the show. I even tried, where is it? Hang on, look, I'll prove to you. I tried to start making notes for you to bring up points, but I can't get through it. It's absolute nonsense. It's as though somebody wants to really axe the program and axe all interest in it and axe any sort of fandom in it. It's as though that's actually really happening. I don't know, but it was this nonsense. It was the official Doctor Who podcast, which was held on Saturday, the 27th of July, at the Neil Morgan Auditorium, San Diego Central Library. As you can see there, Russell T Davies was joined by Ncuti Gatwa and Millie Gibson, and it was hosted and presented by somebody I've never heard of, Christina Ariel. Here's a picture of them all here with the people that turned up. Yeah.
Oh, she's got pink hair. That tells you everything you need to know, really, doesn't it?
Pink ropey hair. It looked like candy floss, actually. You know, it really did.
Ropey, like Series 1.
Yeah. If you look at the crowd, though, and I'm going to be one of these people that say this, not many people there. You know, not really.
Not that many, no.
Not that many. But honestly, I tried to watch this. I can't, because I just throw up. I just think, oh, this is shallow, empty, towing the party line, absolute nonsense. And I know that Paul here did watch it through. Now that I get to the bit where they talk about the Devil's Board, and then I have to switch off. I can't get further than that. Do they go through all 8 stories?
They didn't get that far. I think they got as far as let me think now. After Dot and Bubble, after thinking about they got to Rogue, I think, and then it kind of came to an end as far as I remember, because they were talking about Jonathan Groff and stuff like that. But it was very much like you say, it was all towing the party line. There's a couple of moments though, I thought they asked Ncuti a question about his doctor and things like that, and he couldn't really answer that question at all, or about the doctor's character. And I thought this could be interesting, but it didn't go anywhere at all. So like, he was just really vacuous, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah, I get that bit here, because they were talking about. Yeah, you're absolutely right. This is the bit where I thought he doesn't know what he's playing here. He doesn't know who the Doctor is, because it was just so. Again, as I'm saying, that it was a shallow answer, wasn't it? And he didn't know where to go. He lost it. You know.
But then he doesn't play the Doctor, does he? He plays Ncuti Gatwa. He doesn't take that role on at all. There is nothing about that character in his portrayal at all. Everyone, I mean, obviously I'll draw the line at Whittaker before Whittaker, but all of them have brought something different whilst retaining, right? Colin Baker said it when he was taking it on, when he was interviewed on Blue Peter, you know, bring their own thing, but still have that doctorness. Try and work out what that doctorness is. Keep that, but put your own stamp on it. He's just playing himself with himself.
Yeah, and the scripts do not help at all, do they? Who is Christina Ariel, says Terrified Monk? I have no idea. She claimed in her open speech that she's a huge Doctor Who fan. She might be known in America in podcast circles. I've never known of her. I've never heard of her. She's certainly nothing over here in the UK. So Yabu to her, basically.
I have to say,
huge Doctor Who fan from when exactly? From Christopher Eccleston's time?
From last week. Yeah. The thing about it was, I have watched when they did the 60th and some of the season 1 stuff. I did watch the original podcast team they had on YouTube, and that was fairly bad. But this was, I didn't think, quite as bad as the stuff that they did on YouTube, although it was fairly nauseating. Yeah,
I'm not going to say to anybody, you know, I'm not going to recommend this at all. But if you haven't watched it, don't bother, because it's absolute. It's what you expect. Again, it's towing the party line. Stephen Braddock, I couldn't watch the SDCC, the San Diego Comic-Con on the podcast. I had to turn it off. I was choking on my own bile. And Rick Storm is saying it was poo-cast. Yeah. Well, that's exactly what it was. It was just, I just thought, why bother? Again, it was one of these things to placate the small amount of fans that were there. I use the word fans. Mark Milford is saying most of the aliens the Doctor meets have been dead for eons or not yet born. What else have we got? Legion of James is saying, well, that sounds like a dumpster fire fan fiction nonsense. As I say, I couldn't get through it. It was totally weird. Quickly, we've got here Michael Hallett asking Ian, is your K9 a working model and did you build it? Sorry if you've already stated it. As a maker, I am curious.
No, it's a This Planet Earth Dalek, and it needs quite a bit of renovation.
It's K9. K9 you thought about.
Yeah, I would like to have it properly renovated and everything when funds allow, but at the moment, no. It's just a static. It's a static prop with no inner workings or anything like that.
What do your dogs think about K9 being in the house? How does that go?
They initially gave it a bit of a odd look and a wide berth. Now they just accept it. You know,
I just remember Shep's response on Blue Peter.
I was just thinking that. We haven't had anything like Shep with K9 when he was first introduced. No, which on Blue Peter, for those that don't know, Shep cocked his leg over K9 in the studio.
And tried to eat him.
Bit him as well.
But thanks for that question, mate. Thank you very much. RTD's smile is so fake, says Sheila B. Now, again, with everything that seems to be on at the moment, this panel came across as that to me as well. This was staged. This was rehearsed in a sense, in that the questions were approved. And the questions that this lady was asking, again, were shallow. This Christine, I don't know. Sometimes I get the opinion, I'm of the opinion now that these people are being given the questions and know that they're paid there just to present. You know, and I'm from a background where you were asked to host something like a comic event or a convention, and you had to put the work in as part of that and actually come up with questions. You had to do your research. You had to come up with your questions. You had to think of something different. I remember talking to Liz Sladen at the time when I interviewed Liz Sladen about everything but Doctor Who, because I thought this woman was going to be absolutely bored of talking of Doctor Who. It was just after school reunions. We did talk a bit about that, and then I tried to get out of her because I knew the answer to the question. I tried to get out of her. You're going to come back then. You're going to be doing anything else, and she was going. Because she wasn't allowed to say anything at that point. She was looking at me going, oh, you're naughty, you're not. But these things are coming out now as absolutely staged in that sense.
It's also they're a bit the presenters on this, or the interviewers, are very self-important as well. It's like they're a celebrity too, rather than being about the guests, which is annoying, Well,
I suppose if they've got very successful podcasts or YouTube platforms, which is what these people are tending to go for, then they must think that they are. Some of them would be, I suppose, quite rightly, because some of them will probably be getting more viewers than Doctor Who.
Probably, yes.
Do you know what I mean?
did notice you said about it being slightly awkward or rehearsed. I did notice a couple of times I was watching it that Russell would throw a look at either Millie or Ncuti, like, don't say anything to that question, or, stum, or whatever kind of thing. You know what I mean? Trying to stop them from putting their foot in it a little bit, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. And I noticed this on a couple of other things as well, because these two do not seem to have the confidence of Tennant or Smith or Capaldi when it comes to something like that. They are looking towards the Lord and Master to see what they can say or what they can confirm. I don't understand what's going on about that. But again, hopefully that will come out in time. But this happens all the time. I mean, they were doing it when they were on that bloody awful thing at 7 o'clock on the BBC. What's it called?
The One Show.
Thank you.
Show. Yeah.
I'd axe that as soon as. Anyway, they're looking at him off camera, aren't they? Yeah. They're looking to say, right, okay, what can we say? What can't we say? Are we allowed to look at that particular stuff? I don't know. It's very, very strange.
And it makes it really uninteresting to watch or listen to, because they're not telling you a thing at all, are they? Really?
No. And they're supposed to be adults. I don't know. There's something. What do you think, Who viewers? Have you noticed this and all this stuff they're doing? Shane is with us. Hello, Shane Spangler. Tom Baker and John Pertwee played the Doctors themselves, but they were Tom Baker and John Pertwee. It's a good point.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's a very good point. Yeah. Whereas Ncuti's just.
They had charisma. That's the thing.
Exactly. Peter Venkman fan say, I don't do many podcasts here, so she's a blank to me. And Millywig Zed is saying, Christina Ariel is the famous mermaid singer. All right. Noel Thrussell is with us saying, all right, everyone. Nice to see you, Noel. And Terrified Monk, official Who podcast is horrible. It is, isn't it? Really, it absolutely is. And there are better podcasts out there as well. And the official one is compared to the bigger picture, what's going on around them, it's not the best one received either. You would think that the official one would be the highest rated one. It's not at all.
The thing that annoys me is about like you were saying about when you interview someone, you have to do research. The people on the podcast in general, the official one that's on YouTube, I don't know how much research they've done or how much they know about their subject, but it appears to me not an awful lot. They're constantly making mistakes and not it appears they don't know what they're talking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it does come across though. It really does come across. There's something there. There's some. It's all approved. The whole thing now. It's all approved. Stage.
I looked her up. I was curious.
Go on.
I was curious. I looked her up. An actor and cosplayer. So she dresses up, basically.
Yes, I knew she was a cosplayer because I've seen some pictures of her as Superman or probably Supergirl. I don't know.
Well, who knows?
Cosplayer on the CV is a career thing.
How can you possibly have it on your CV, a cosplayer? I mean, please get a proper
31,000 on Instagram, which in the total scheme of things, you know, isn't that much really, is it, for these supposed celebrities? 31.9 thousand followers on your Insta profile. Isn't that big? I would expect more for something like that, hundreds of thousands or whatever.
The problem is that these, I mean, I'm going to say this now, and it's hugely controversial. These people are approved. So they will say what they're supposed to say. They will have the same opinions as those in charge now. They will be of that mindset. They're not going to say anything that's controversial, like some big gob like me would say, what do you think of your bad ratings and why are you putting all this nonsense into the show? And why can't you, do you know, all that sort of stuff. You know,
I would pay money to see that, JT. I really would, honestly.
Yeah, it would be a good interview, but they're not going to challenge them, are they? They're going to play safe. They're going to read what they're done. They're going to be told. They could also be from that generation now, where that's how they work now. Here's your questions. All you have to do is that and take the money at the end of the day. How lazy is that? You know, how lazy is that? If you are a fan of the show, these people are in front of you. Don't let the opportunity go. Ask them the questions you want to know. That's what I say. Divining Dragon is saying, I'm done with RTD, Bad Wolf, Disney, the BBC, and current Doctor Who. Phew. I'm trying to decide if I need to check out even of Doctor Who fandom. It is so damaged. Well, no, you don't need to, really. You know, I mean, the brilliant thing about it is we've still got 26 years of superior time and space travel to go through, as we're proving on this channel. There's lots more to talk about. There's lots of decent fans out there as well. Let's just concentrate on the good stuff. That's what I say. And that's, you know, let's have a laugh at the other stuff. Yeah, let's have a laugh at the other stuff, I say. So don't.
They are trying to, Ian, with all these re-edits and colorizations and all that crap.
Yeah, but the great thing about that is that we come along and we all talk about it here. And we get at it and have a bit of a bitch about it. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a laugh. If we like it, we like it. If we don't, we don't. Come on, DD.
She's definitely no Parkinson, that's for sure. Yeah.
That's what's saying there. Stephen is saying that. Parkinson, if you're outside the UK, Michael Parkinson, the late great Michael Parkinson, was one of our best broadcasters on both the radio and the BBC for years and years and years. He dominated Saturday night interviewing techniques and set a platform that, unfortunately, these days is no longer looked at, because these days it's all about the interviewer.
Yeah.
He had the magic of making sure it was all about his guest. And he would
to be fair, she's no Alan Partridge either, and that's saying something.
No, I'm not going to do with that. I'm not going to explain who that one is, tell you. Rick is saying
Parkinson was part of that Saturday night, 1970s Saturday night BBC dominance of TV, wasn't he? You know, which included Doctor Who in its heyday. You know, going from Basil Brush and one that we won't mention.
Was towards the evening, was the end of it, wasn't it? Towards Match of the Day, which would be one of the last programs. You might get a film.
Yeah, they had complete control, BBC. ITV did not get a look in. And Parkinson anchored it right at the end. There was, people just didn't switch over.
And he interviewed some amazing people, from Muhammad Ali to Clark Gable and people like that. Amazing people.
Yeah. Huge. Rick Storm, of course it's all staged. Heaven forbid they received a real critical question. Exactly. And that's been happening since the Chibnall era now, hasn't it? And I think it even snuck in towards the end of Moffat's time, to be quite honest, looking at some of it. I wonder if there was an interview to get into the crowd. No, I think you just had to turn up with green hair and a pronoun badge. And Bill Lowry is saying to us here, have we been spoiled by having actors who were generally fans before they became the Doctor? Or is it that the last two actors weren't interested in the show and treated it as just another job? I totally agree with that. The problem we had is that, you know, Eccleston took the job, not because he was a fan, because he wasn't. He admitted that. He didn't like it. He wanted to produce a character. He wanted to do something different. Tennant took it because it was offered to him, and he's a fan. Matt Smith took it, I would imagine, in my opinion, because he wanted to do the same as Eccleston. He wanted to get onto this big show and produce a character, and by God, it worked for him. Capaldi did it because he's a fan. In my heart and heart, that's why he was offered it, and he was a fan, so he's not going to turn it down. But the last two,
I wonder if he wishes he hadn't.
Well, we'll ask him one day. And also, the last two, I think, is because the show became a juggernaut. So many people made it in America because of it, and I'm talking Billy, and I'm talking Freema. John, of course, was always around, but he played on the back of it. We even had Karen. Look at Karen, how successful Karen's been. Huge. But that's become from Doctor Who. Yeah, that gets around in the acting world, doesn't it? So I reckon they all thought, I think a lot of people came into Doctor Who thinking, I'm going to be huge in America now. It hasn't worked since the Chibnall era, has it? One thing that came out of this podcast was the fact that RTD yet again confirmed that he loved this timeless child thing from his predecessor, Chris Chibnall. He loved that. Yeah. You just need a good story, he said. And then he went on to say how he liked Chibnall's timeless child arc and his enjoyment of Long Lost Family, which is a British show here, which deals with adoptions and stuff like that, I believe, with Davina McCall. And how he said, how in his head he said that the next thing, whatever he wrote, would be around about those lines. Unfortunately for us, it turned out to be Doctor Who. So he decided to put that enthusiasm he had in for that whole thing into Doctor Who.
As I said earlier, he's now an adopted Time Lord as opposed to just being a Time Lord. What is the point of that? Complete waste of narrative.
It's shocking, isn't it, though? Yeah. It really, I mean, you know, just because he decided. I mean, can you imagine if he'd done a proper drama which wasn't Doctor Who based on that premise? It would have been actually fairly watchable, I would have think, apart from the politics, which possibly would have sat in that sort of drama, you know. But no, he gets Doctor Who, and he, instead of parking the idea thinking that's a completely different series, oh no, I'll just write it all about Doctor Who. I'll put that into Doctor Who, this whole thing, because it ties in with what Chris Chibnall did. And isn't that amazing? It's wonderful. No, it's fine. Oh, please, I'm going to throw up again. But no,
they could have easily rewritten this and just tweaked it to make it kind of reverse what happened by making, I don't know, like they did in Trial of the Time Lord, the Matrix was being manipulated, the Master was lying, blah, 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 whatever. They kind of alluded to that with the toy maker and the giggle that maybe he's played about with the Doctor's history. So why can't they just move on and forget about it? You know, like the half-human thing, you know?
But even that is now out there because he's been talking about that recently. We'll come to that if he mentions it again, because back in 2005, 2006, of course, he and Moffat were not interested in that side of stuff. But they've opened a can of worms now, thanks to Chibnall. Everything's up for grabs now, as we know. Richard Brooks is joining us as well. Nice to see you, Richard. Thanks for joining us. What fresh madness from the foaming lips of Russell Tuff Davis. And John is also saying to Divining Dragon, I'll never watch Doctor Who again, but I hope you mean the new stuff. You don't have to watch the new stuff. We'll watch it for you, and then you can come and watch us, and we'll tell you how good or how not good it is. But what we've looked at this year, it's not going to be good, is it? No. And Dalek I recently visited a new Harry Potter store in Liverpool, but it included merchandise from other franchises, including Doctor Who, but nothing related to current Doctor Who. Now, you got in touch with me about this one, didn't you? And you showed me this is one on the Albert Dock, I believe. Next time I'm in Liverpool, I will be going to have a look at this. There's a lot of these shows that are coming around now. They're based around Harry Potter because the merchandise is incredible and it's increasing. And it's about to get a facelift over the next few years. As a certain person gets replaced by whoever is taking on that iconic role. Gosh, that's a lucky 11-year-old. Set for life. Set for life. 10-year series. won't need to work again in his life, will he? But anyway, we've got all that coming forward. I'm going to go and look at this, but there's nothing related to current Doctor Who because there's not much going on with it, is there? You've got all that stuff that was at the San Diego Comic-Con, which is now making its way. They were calling it exclusive. There's slight tweaks, I believe, on the designs coming, Dalek Eye. So we're going to see all these stupid things about honey written on the T-shirts and all this. Sonic screwdrivers.
It's a little tact.
Yeah, but I wonder if that shop will get the character options figures, for example, the new wave of character options figures. Will they be able to afford to get them in? I don't know.
Is that the 14 Ncuti variations we're talking about?
I'm sure there's more than that.
They'll be able to afford to get them in when they're in the £1 bargain bin section.
Yeah,
they can get a load in then because they aren't going to sell in the quantities that the classic releases do.
No,
not a chance.
Gilliam is joining us with the lovely picture of the it's not Kermit, it's the other one, I'm sure it is. But let's just bitch and have fun at New Who's expense. And it's the only way we're going to get any fun out of it so far. Absolutely. We're having a laugh, aren't we, here on
Yeah,
Who's
we are.
Yes. To do it. So thank you for joining us all. It's nice to see you all. So thank you so much. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up, like on this as well. And if you have subscribed to the channel before, just please make sure you're still subscribed to the channel, because for some reason, which we've said before, we don't know why, but a lot of you have been unsubscribed. So just make sure you're all there. Problem Being's joining us in the chat now as well, saying late to the ball. Well, Cinderella, you got here eventually. Nice to see you. Lots coming up for you in the show now as well. And again, thank you so much, everybody, for your chats. It's wonderful to see you all chatting away there and giving your opinions. We absolutely love that. Yes. So thank you so much for that. Keep it all coming. As we now, oh, look, it's the Kerminator.
Brilliant. Love it.
It's
now there's a spin-off I'd like to see. Yeah.
Oh, I'd love to see that as well. That would be funny, wouldn't it? Disney still own the Muppets, don't they?
Probably, yeah.
They went downhill as well. Did you notice, everybody, please?
Yeah.
And Richard Hussey saying, yes, I have a right. I'm having a laugh here. Thank you. You're very welcome. That's what it's all about. It's getting us through with a smile. That's what we're trying to do. Yeah. So that was that particular bit here. But Russell T Davies, and we'll need a drink of water for this first. Excuse me. That was the podcast. So that's the last thing I think we're going to be reporting at from San Diego Comic-Con, unless they throw something else at us in the week. But he did and was interviewed elsewhere, because this week he had an interview in SFX magazine. Another one. Now, SFX magazine, and I'm not commenting at all whether it's right or wrong, but they love Doctor Who and they love the current reiteration of Doctor Who. But the cynical part of me thinks it's because they get to go on set. Ooh. I don't know. It's what we were calling shill media. And I think it does say, but he has been interviewed by SFX magazine. It came out this week. If you're interested, this is the article here. We're going to go through this, so please stick with me again. There's an awful lot here, of course, to read through, but I'll be very interested in the panel, you two, and I'll be very interested in what you think, Whoview, is with this particular one. So let's go into this. When we sit down with Russell T Davies to discuss season 1 of Doctor Who, we've recently seen the finale, though at the time it's yet to air, and we generally didn't know who was going to return in it, despite catching some online rumours. What? So you had no idea it was Sutek? Those rumours were an absolute, and I'm not saying that word, Mr. T Davies. We tried and tried and tried, he sighs. So much for no old monsters. This story idea has been rattling around with Davies since 1975, when he first saw Tom Baker's story, Pyramids of Mars. Yes, the greatest monster ever. It's taken this long. I've always had that Sutek pun in mind. Did you see that coming? Yawn, yawn, yawn. When people started mentioning Pyramids of Mars, we thought, surely he can't be talking about Sue's tech, says SFX. Exactly what it was, says RTD. I like to think of Sutek clinging to the TARDIS, thinking, I know what I'll do. I'll slide in via a pun. I think, having clung to the TARDIS since 1975, that he was probably getting pretty bored. I mean, John Nathan Turner started this. Before his master puns, they didn't exist in Doctor Who, did they? Once he introduced Neil Toynay as master actor Anthony Ainley, as he was credited for episode 4 of 1982's Castrovalva, we all loved that. Remember, there was no other information in those days, but we'd scour the Radio Times, and people still do that. It's become part of the language of the show. In this series, we've had bogeymen who are actually bogies, and now we've got Susan technology. played by a woman called Susan Twist. I just love that. Well, you would. Like a show for the modern age, it will get people talking about it. How deliberate is Susan Twist's surname? I literally had it in mind casting her. So why Sutek? Said SFX. To be absolutely honest, there was a lot of reasons for Sutek. I was very much aware that some people probably abandoned or decried the show because we're now connected with the big streamer. Unfairly, but that's a natural, cynical, and dare I say, British response to moving into a big level of production. And I understand that's not a mad response. I might look at other shows and do that myself and think, ooh, they've sold out. So I absolutely, even before we'd chosen the streamer, even before we had the deal in place, knew that by going on to a bigger level show, we needed to bring back a great big old enemy to say, this is the same show. At this point, I'm going to ask you, why not the Daleks? Carrying on. I think possibly there will be some viewers who will say, oh, that's not for me now. I've moved away from Doctor Who. Oh my God, Sutek, I'll come back. Surely there will be some pickup. Surely some people will come and look because Sutek's back and because it's voiced by Gabrielle Wolf, by the original actor. So that was a very deliberate policy to kind of say to anyone who might have wandered away from the show, come back, come back. And look, this is still the same show. It's also a very, very famous story. I was also aware of the fact that the Tom Baker years were sold abroad by, was it Lionheart? So that those were the years that have been seen in America. So it wasn't completely unknown to an American audience. And partly as a fan, we have an increased budget. And I thought Sutek deserved an increased budget. I thought of everything we're bringing back now. It's going to be a huge, great, big jackal. Let's be honest, Sutek changed shape to about 3 forms in Pyramids of Mars. That first apparition that appears in the TARDIS is nothing like the one that appears at the end. So it's completely unashamedly changing, where he looks like again, stripped of the Egyptian paraphernalia, which in Tales of the TARDIS is dismissed as cultural appropriation. I hope you're all staying with me. It's just time to get a great big old villain back. I think they do have a weight and a longevity. The fact that Sutek returns means we can spin off that Tales of the TARDIS to do an extra one. That's actually where Tales of the TARDIS came from. We did that first. Episodes 7 and 8 were written because we created that TARDIS.
Aren't we so glad of that?
I know, yeah. Round of applause. Then I said, look, we can introduce Pyramids of Mars by using that TARDIS and shooting with a Ncuti and Millie. And after that, a year and a half ago, that's when I went, hang on, we could use that set to do another Tales of the TARDIS. So you're seeing everything. It's very timey-wimey in reverse order. All it says to me, I'm going to interrupt at this, but all it says to me is nothing's planned anymore. It's all, you know, happening. Speaking of timey-wimey, there's a gap in the Devil's Cord that implies 6 months have passed since Ruby met the Doctor, says SFX. No, that's meant to be. That's complicated. I mean, I can see that no one in the audience would ever get this. I'm trying to explain how Sarah Jane is clearly from the 1970s, and yet in Pyramids of Mars, she says she's from the 1980s. So I'm trying to establish some sort of temporal drift as you go into the TARDIS. Anyone asleep yet?
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Yeah. It gets worse. It gets worse. There's not a 6 month gap there. No one else but a Doctor Who discourse would ever think 6 months have passed. So everything's still brand new to Ruby. The next thing, they land on an alien planet. It's brand new to her. It's me trying to explain that you drift in time relative to where you left from. That's the only reason. I do believe Sarah Jane came from the 1970s. I don't think she came from the 1980s at all. Now this is boring, isn't it? This is a boring fan here. Let's carry on with this. I have very little time for unit dating. I think those things went out in the year that they went out. It's not set in the future. The John Pertwee seasons, no way, is about the future. So there's a kind of temporal drift going on. That's the reason why he asked where she's from. He's kind of triangulating where she feels like. It's all about feels, isn't it? She feels time shifted in the way that Sarah Jane feels like after all that much travel in the TARDIS, it's like a decade has passed for her. But it clearly hasn't. So there's a kind of temporal drift at work here. Apologies if you're nodding off, honestly, because I mean, what utter nonsense is that?
It's complete bollocks. I'm sorry, but
he's definitely climbed up his fundamental orifice, hasn't he?
Well, stand by your beds because there's more coming. In 2005, he said, no Zog aliens from the planet Zog. Was that the same mindset this time? That's always my attitude towards Doctor Who, even with the Chulda, the aliens in Rogue. I think the children are a good example because they're cosplaying. I love that story. So you get what they're doing. What that means is I would never start with scene 1, a childer standing against a bird-like sky saying, now we will invade planet Earth. I think that's the way to turn off viewers. Whereas actually, we open that episode on a dance in the Regency era and with a good murder. That's always good. But then after the titles, the Doctor and Ruby are dancing and it's Bridgerton. And you're straight into it. If anything, maybe we're a bit light on aliens this year. And I think we can bring some more of them back next year. We've got some great stuff, some great robots. There's a great enemy. There's an episode that's full of aliens. And I think we can tilt a little bit back towards the aliens a bit. How much of an impact do you think that Sutekh clutching onto the TARDIS has had on the Doctor's travels? It would be marvellous to go back through the entire archive since 1975 and drop Susan Twist into every story. Guess what's coming up, folks? If I had ultimate power, I would literally do that. I'm not kidding. I would do that. I love that because she was there. She's been popping up on every single planet. Planet of Evil. Can you imagine? She was there in the background somewhere. The Talons of Wei Chiang. She was there. Susan Twist is walking up and down that riverbank somewhere. I love her. I absolutely don't want to create any sort of mythology in which it is said that Sutekh was guiding the TARDIS for all those years. I just don't believe that at all. I think it needed the explosion that was big enough at the end of the Star Beast. Does anybody remember that? When the TARDIS kind of goes mad and blows up. That's kind of what woke Sutekh up. I thought it was a coffee cup. I genuinely think he was clinging to the TARDIS with his plan. It had that plan all along to create those Susan Twist avatars. So that's been going on ever since 1975, but I don't think Sutekh ever guided the TARDIS. It took him until, I'm so bored, I'm sorry. It took until him coming across Ruby's mother with time itself being completely unknown to him for him to wake. There was something kind of omniscient. Is that omniscient? I can't say that now, sorry. Riding the TARDIS, and suddenly that stopped when he saw her, which was a woman of no significance. It's just the fact, that she was so insignificant, which gave her the significance. I love that. I'm so proud of that. A lot of the ending of Ruby's mother is my reaction to what they did with The Last Jedi. Here we go. That middle film directed by Rian Johnson. They said that Daisy Ridley's Rey was no one, was not special, and said anyone could be a Jedi. It ends on that brilliant image of a little kid playing, and they've got the Force. Then they changed their mind in the next film because of reaction to that film. Something you're not listening to. It might have been wrong, but they listened. Let's carry on. They changed their mind in the next film, but along came J.J. Abrams, who is brilliant, but says actually for Rey to have the Force, she's going to have to be the Emperor's daughter. I preferred the middle film that says actually you could be the most ordinary person in the world and capable of possessing the Force. So that Ruby story was my reaction to that. Where you think Ruby's mother is going to be Sutekh or a time god or Susan Foreman or a version of Ruby from the future or the Rani or the River Song, and actually it turns out to be a 15-year-old Manchester girl who's saving a baby for an unsafe house. That's more powerful than any cosmic force in the universe. So I love writing that. I was very much on a mission to write that because I think that's how my science fiction world works. I think that's a good story, and I think that should be said at every level. Manchester girls sitting in their bedroom watching the television, you are as important as any god or emperor or time lord. Bangs the desk, lesson over.
What is he on? Really, what is he taking? I'll have some of that, please. What is he on? He's no idea what he's talking about.
There's another channel on that often goes through articles on Bleeding Cool News, and they are quite lengthy and rambling. Not the channel, the actual articles in Bleeding Cool, with all sorts of tangents and suppositions of what's going on, and they're all absolute bat shit, you know. And this is exactly the same. It's like he's just obsessing with fan wankery, but you know, I look back at what he said in all of that, and most of it was absolute bull.
Yeah,
but he says in Pyramids of Mars, you know, he came up in lots of different forms. No, he didn't. The way the TARDIS, the head in the TARDIS appeared right at the start of episode 1 is identical to how he looked at the end.
Yeah,
absolutely identical. Same mask, everything. It was identical. And Sarah did not say she came from the 1980s. She said, I'm from 1980, the year. You know, it was, which is literally just tail end of the 70s, the start of 1980, depending on how long she had been traveling, because you never knew. There was no indication of passage of time.
Excuse me.
But he's reading way too much into anything, and he's just he goes on about cultural appropriation to make his lefty credentials all good. What's he doing by peeing all over the 1970s stuff? He is culturally appropriating stuff from a different era that isn't his, that he has nothing to do with, that he had nothing to do with, and he's trying to is like a feral cat that just wants to go and pee on somebody else's property to mark its territory. He's a vandal.
But he's missing the entire point of the Assyrians. We talked about this before, didn't we, in the review? It's the Assyrians are meant to be inspired the Egyptians to do what they do now as Egyptians, and their technology come from the Assyrians, isn't it? So he's missed the point entirely, isn't he? It's not it's the other way around, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I've read that out. I've read it, and I've read it, and now I've read it out.
He's worrying about bizarre things. It's just really odd.
But it's just, again, it's hollow.
Yeah, definitely hollow. Yeah.
Basically, what he's doing is justifying nonsense. He's talking about the fact that he's brought back the big bad, a big bad. We needed a big bad. We needed a big bad. And then you gave him a story like that, and you made him a dog. I can't even remember where the threat was with the reveal of this is Sutekh coming through. And episode 2 was a massive, massive drain of my energy because it was just boring as hell. Sutekh in the original Pyramids of Mars is a threat from episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, episode 4. He's scary.
Yeah.
This one was, what was this? It was a big dog who went for a walk.
And the reveal of Sutekh in the new episode is like, well, unless you know who he is, there's no impact whatsoever because you have to be a fan to know what's going on.
Well, he's talking about both an American audience.
Know all of that, did you?
Yeah.
No, but he's talking there about Sutekh was a big one because of the American audience there. There was no American audience. The American, the wider scale American, they're not going to be. I've tried to tell the
PBS, was it public broadcasting? No, Helen was watching it.
No, Doctor Who is a cult in America, especially. The wide scale, the bigger American are not interested. Never mind you putting it on New York buses and stuff. They didn't come to the show. They're not interested in this little British science fiction show. And that's why the magic's been lost, in my opinion, because they're trying to make it more than a little British science fiction show. They're trying to make it a global player. Doctor Who isn't a global player. Get it into your heads. That's the magic of Doctor Who. It's always been the smaller. It's the oldest in the world, but it's the smaller player. And because it was creative, because of its stories and its inventions, and this whole thing, but I haven't read that again. Oh, I'm probably being...
I think Doctor Who's got originality to be a world player, but it still needs to be Doctor Who. That's the point, you know?
But you can't... I don't think you can do that. Because the world, to look at it, when you look at all these things, when you look at Star Trek, when you look at Star Wars, what they want it to be up there with, in our minds as fans, it's already there.
Yeah.
It's already there, but they want more. They want more, constantly, more, because it's all about profit, and they want the world public to be joining this. It's not going to do that. You're having a problem trying to get the British public watching you now because of the mistakes you've made for 7 or 8 years. It's not going to happen. You know, it's just not going to happen. You had the opportunity, you messed it all up. It's gone. It's just not going to happen now. And bringing Disney into it hasn't worked either. But that interview there, problem being is, can producers of the show just stop applying their childhood fanfics into ideas into the actual show? The Fitzroy clowns keep making this mistake. They keep making the mistakes because they're just not listening, you know. And because they're all obsessed with making this something it's not.
Should we explain the reference to Fitzroy for people that don't know?
I mean, basically what that is for anybody outside the UK, there is a bar in London called the Fitzroy Tavern where a lot of these, when they were young men, would hang out and go and have a drink and talk to each other and geek out with each other. And they consist of people like RTD, Stephen Moffat, Paul Cornell, Mark Gatiss, the clique, basically the superior clique that ended up running the blooming show. I don't think Gareth went to that many, but Mr. Roberts went to a couple as well, and wasn't quite for him, I believe. But anyway, it was that clique. and they ended up running the club. We're getting some great comments again from you all in there. Thank you so much. RTD is a simpleton, Sue Tech, ha ha ha. It's a primary school mind. But don't forget that he also came up with this story in 1975.
Yeah.
When he was a young, when he was a child, basically. And he's kept it in there ever since. And victimhood plays well, says Matthew Pounder. Sue Tech and Sue Tech does not make sense, says Matt. It's true, because even when that reveal came on, they tried to repeat what they did with the Master.
Yeah.
Yana, didn't they, Who viewers?
Yeah.
The K isn't in there. It's not even a dig. I mean, you couldn't put the K into Sue Tech because it's basically it then. There's no game there.
Yeah.
Oh. And Stephen's saying to us here, I bet Sue Tech was really bored in Clara's handbag. Yeah, absolutely true. Terrified Monk, RTD must have extra wide doors to fit his head through. Oh.
The idea, though, is we're alluding to about putting Susan Twist into every story and having her in Planet of Evil. I hope she's one of those husks that gets desiccated by the antimatter monster. That'd be nice.
Yeah. Legion of James is pointing out, still the same show. Ha ha ha. Yeah, it's nowhere near the same show, is it? We looked at those 8 episodes and we came to that conclusion, didn't we? Got the lowest scores on the TARDIS doors of anything we ever do. Even the equivalents we're doing for the Hammer Horrors and the Carry Ons get more than that season. You know, absolutely ridiculous. Sutek died, said Richard Brooks. He was mortal. The doctor says how much longer he lived. Russell Tuff Davis is a hack. And what's this from Michael Hallett? Dumbing down the audience. Thanks, BBC. Perhaps remember we're not all dumb enough to watch. It was also assuming an awful lot, wasn't it? Oh, everybody's going to remember Sutek. It was 1975, and he was in one story.
Yeah.
Of course they're not.
It was hard enough with the Omega in season 20, bringing him back, and only the fans knew who he was. It was bizarre.
Yeah. Well, the whole thing about this, as I was saying there as well, is that if you were going to bring back something iconic, which was Doctor Who, it had to be the Daleks.
Yeah.
But my opinion is, of course, that's problematic because of what they are and what they represent. And this, look what they did to Davros. We're never going to forgive that. What are they going to do to the Daleks? I dread to think. Ncuti Gatwa has gone on several records over the last few months to say he has to meet the Daleks.
Yeah.
It's not happening in series 2 either, because we would have known about it by now.
Yeah.
We would have known about it. So will he get to meet the Daleks in his last year, his 3rd series, whatever form that's going to take? I'm not sure. But he's obviously wanting to. He obviously wants to meet the Daleks. He has gone on record saying, I can't be the first Doctor not to meet the Daleks. Well, that actually is held by Paul McGann, but never mind.
They'll give them something to cry about, I would imagine.
I hope they're the ones that make him die and then cut the series. Cut the series. Exterminate him and cut the series then. That would do. That's a cliffhanger for us all, isn't it?
Yeah.
Stutek did not change appearance, says Steve Braddock. He was the Jackal in the TARDIS, and when he was unmasked in the time tunnel at the end, and the Jackal head was under the Sutek mask. So wrong, RTD, Supervan.
Absolutely.
I think they were a little bit different, though, weren't they? Let's go back and have a look at that. I think there were certain differences, but I never thought
TARDIS, it looked like it was in a kind of like smoky atmosphere. There was like smoke around it. But when you actually see it,
He did say about the appearances. He's getting mixed up with the Lawrence Scarman turning up.
There was the appearance in the TARDIS. There was the appearance at the end, and there was the mask version.
Oh, of course, that's what. Yeah.
So that, but I thought that was Horus at the very beginning, and it was a warning that Sarah saw. Maybe, I mean, you can interpret it any way you want.
They'd be the same species, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
They were the Asylum, so they'd look the same anyway. But he did not change into a fundamentally different creature.
I don't know. I mean, we're all the same species, and we don't look the same.
But in the sense of, two hands, 2 arms, 2 eyes, 1 mouth, 1 nose, that kind of thing. Whereas going from what he looked like in Pyramids of Mars to something that you'd see on an advert for the Kennel Club is quite different, isn't it?
Yeah,
really.
Well, absolutely. Yeah.
You can just see Sutek at Crufts, can't you? Yeah.
Nowadays, I just think it's absolutely shocking. Mark Jones is saying to us, it's taken Gatwa 2 years to get to handle on the Doctor. All the other actors except Judy Whittless got the role in 10 minutes. And Richard is saying to us, Terence Dix said that unit was set a little in the future. Culture drift, this is utter nonsense. Yeah. I was there at a convention when Uncle Terence actually said that him and Barry assumed that their Doctor Who was set 5 minutes in the future.
Well, you have to look at it. If you go back to Marble Snowman, which is set in 1935, and it says that Web of Fear is meant to be 40 years later. That's 1975. Yeah. And on the invasion, I've got a recording of episode 1 on audio, and the announcer says it's now 1979. So it's meant to be certainly late 70s.
Yeah. I'm certainly one of those fans that doesn't care. I love it. I don't care where it is. And I wish Mordred Undead had never even tackled it. They should have just said, oh, yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Again, thank you to Cute Prior for your super chat. Really appreciate it. How is it cultural appropriation when the Osirians were an Egyptian thing? Therefore, they should look like their natives. Therefore, they should look like the natives. And this whole thing is complete BS.
Yeah.
Because these people read things into it, don't they, Cute Prior? And the big topic at the time he was writing all this was all that cultural appropriation. It's easy for me to say it's nonsense because I don't believe it. But then people will accuse me of all sorts of things as they usually do, because it's nothing to do with me and all that sort of nonsense at all. But it's Doctor Who. It's Doctor Who. It's Doctor Who. And did any of us see that when we've watched Doctor Who since 1975 at the Pyramids of Mars? No.
What he's doing is he's kind of mansplaining a bit, isn't he? He's really over-explaining everything that doesn't need to be explained at all. It's like the bioregeneration thing about the Doctor regenerating and still surviving. Yeah. That's utterly pointless. Just so you can get old doctors to come back when there wasn't a problem in the first place. Just really weird.
Yeah. I love the fact that in the chat, guys, they're saying about how again, they're agreeing how boring what Russell's saying was. I had to read it to you, though, so have some sympathy for me, please.
Well done for staying awake when you're reading it.
Oh, I'm so bored. There is another bit to it, but I can't be bothered reading it, I have to be honest, because it's all the same nonsense again, and it's not relevant, so we'll move on with that. But yeah, Rick Storm, SFX has gone downhill, I see. RTD is good at turning off the viewers, says Artem Murray. Again, you can see at this point, the slight arrogance is in there. They were expecting this thing to be another 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008 hit for them as well. This is a flop, everybody. You've had a flop. And I think you're about to get another 2. My opinion. What we got here? Marjorie. Oh, excuse me. RTD needs his mouth wired shut, says Marjorie. Oh, Marjorie, you're ruthless, you are, aren't you?
And the wire's connected to the mains.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Ooh. Yawn, says John Mason. Exactly. And everything's great. St. Peter Venkman fans say, what is this? Frosted Flakes?
He's always loved his own stuff, though, hasn't he? Everything he's done in previews about everything he's written, he's just said it's absolutely brilliant. He is his own biggest fan.
Oh, totally. But then they all are. Moffat went the same way. They actually believe that their own mythology, if you like, because they're hearing about, they're in echo chambers, and all they hear about is how wonderful they are and how brilliant it is and how well it's been doing. And oh, aren't you clever? And you know, even on that awful podcast thing I couldn't get through, they referred to it again. The man that brought back Doctor Who in 2005. It's 20 years ago. Can we move on, please? He had a success with it then. He's had a flop with it now. Again, I'd be one of these people that was saying the guy that brought back Doctor Who in 2005 and then destroyed it in 2023, Russell T Davies. Yeah! Do you know what I mean? Because it's the truth. Yeah. It's the fact.
Yeah. It is the truth.
Yeah. Richard is saying to us here as well, Susan Twist could have hung out with Chameleon. Maybe they were having a lovely, lovely tea party with pineapples. If you can get that reference,
you know. Pineapple on the TARDIS, yeah. Very messy pineapple as well.
Very messy pineapples. Maybe they were doing that. And High Desert 004 saying cringe. The never-ending story. Ha ha ha, says Terrified Monk. If you're going to bring something, hi Domgo, nice to see you. If you're going to bring somebody back like Sutek or a villain back like Sutek, you do it properly. You think TV movie. And this is the problem I have with these people. They write this episode, the first episode 1, because it's all about the finales now. So they'll write something like the episode 1, which I think I remember thinking that was okay. It wasn't too bad. And then you're completely let down. And Sutek wasn't the big baddie, and it was all about. I mean, he wasn't hardly in the second episode, was he? He should have been sitting up on a throne somewhere, going, "I got you, got you, got you, got you." Shouldn't he?
You went to all the trouble of getting Gabriel Wolf back to play the part, and you wasted him. You know.
Yeah, totally. And I'm sure Mr. Wolf doesn't care because he got paid.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah, exactly. What we got here? So Sutek was asleep all those years. What cobblers? Says Polar. And DD is saying, remember, if someone has to do this level of headcanon to fill in the blanks and justify narratives, it means the story was bad. It is just bad. But it's like Paul was saying through our review show, wasn't it, Paul? Because you watched that making of. He was
Unleashed,
explaining
God
the
help me.
episode,
Yes, I did. Yeah.
And he was explaining things in that, wasn't he?
Yeah, like I said, he tends to sort of mansplain things because he can't put them in the story itself. You know, it's weird.
Susan Twist was not there during 26 years of Classic Who, says Marjorie. She was there because RTD made her up. And again, that didn't come across in the story. He's gone to SFX magazine to say, now, listen, everybody that's bothered reading this and who's bothered watching my version of this show. Susan Twist is in there. She's in all those episodes since 1975. No, not having it.
It would have only been Sutek for me if, when he crawled off the top of the TARDIS, a hand had just moved back out the way. You know,
which they edited out.
Authenticity.
Yeah. Hello, backup. Yeah. Thank you so much for all your comments in the chat tonight. But he's just adding that I didn't like Clara. And Michael is saying to us, Ryan Johnson, wash your mouth out with soap, JT. Do you know what though? He hasn't gone into there. I like those murder mystery things he's done. But that Last Jedi thing, I nearly walked out halfway through. I thought, what the hell am I watching? Do you know the bit when they went to that gambling planet? I thought, what is this? Where is this going? Where's this going? This isn't Star Wars. What is this? That's when, I mean, I wasn't happy with the first one, but the second one, I just thought, what the hell? And it's amazing, isn't it? I watch a lot of my science fiction favorites now, and I think the same thing all the time. What are they doing? What are they doing?
It was really funny. Originally, when the prequels came out of the Star Wars ones, you know, Phantom Menace, etc., they weren't received very, very well. But then the new ones came out recently, and the prequels have been reassessed, and I think they're much better than the new ones. The new ones are terrible, really terrible.
Oh, they're awful. I can't stand them at all. They're not on my shelves. Are they on yours? Let me know in the comments. Mark is saying to us here, hello to Talons, by the way, who's joined us. Nice to see you. Mark Milford is saying to us here, New Who is like a bad restaurant. What we've served is undercooked. It has no flavour and not what we wanted. That's why
food poisoning as well, I think probably.
That's why Mark Milford is the poet laureate of Who's Views, because he comes up with statements like that. Very, very clever. Very good. He's good with the words, isn't he, Mark? So thank you for your super chat, by the way, Mark. And that's very good of you. Thank you. Domgo was saying, I wonder what sad cases will be getting the £60 season 1 box sets tomorrow. Yes, of course, because that travesty of a series that we've just reviewed over that time is out tomorrow on Blu-ray and DVD if you've got more money than sense. And you can get it tomorrow from all the regular stockists. Some people have already had it. And they've been doing all those open the box things on the Tube of Who's.
Unboxing videos, yes, very exciting. That is, yeah.
Please. So to the 20 or so people that have been watching it, I hope you're happy. Please. Who wants to see somebody open that and Ncuti Gatwa pops out? Please. Can't be bothered with all that. So it takes all sorts to make a universe. Who got the reference there? Hope you did. Let me know in the chat if you did. Because it's one of my favourite lines. He doesn't understand Doctor Who, says Daryl. He's all very much like Abrams, Kurtzman and Ryan Johnson, just bullies playing in someone else's toy box and aiming to sully the past two and succeeding in it, aren't they, Daryl? And that's what gets me. They've been succeeding. It's such a shame. PBS doesn't air current Doctor Who as far as I know. It won't do because it's all Disney now, but it did in the day, and that's what he means. Back in the day, Lionheart were distributing. It would have been on all these different channels over there. It was growing. That's why Doctor Who was growing the cult over those years. Excuse me. That's what he means in the interview. It doesn't mean that. Can we talk about the Silurians again, says Domgo. Yes, we can. This Wednesday, we're going to be reviewing Doctor Who and the Silurians. I'm going to be telling you about that very shortly.
Yay.
So yes, back to proper Doctor Who then as well. We really need, says Matthew, to end the fanboys running the show.
Yeah.
The problem we get with this now, Matt, is I've been saying this for years. Get rid of them. And let's get a proper producer, a proper script editor, and a proper team in place. But I look around the showbiz industry now, and I just think there aren't any. because they're all pandering to the ideology, aren't they? They're all there. So it does worry me, but I do agree with you. And Gilliam is also saying to us, we need a big bad villain from the past. Bring back Bertie Bassett. Stop giving them ideas, because that could happen. They've got CGI to play with now. They could do something with that.
They didn't mention the Happiness Patrol at the panel. Ncuti mentioned the pink TARDIS and said Happiness Patrol or something. So he had done a bit of research about that. But yeah,
he'll have been fed that line as well.
I think so, probably. Yeah.
Probably. The pink TARDIS is a marketing ploy, though. It is based on the Happiness Patrol. The TARDIS was painted on one side only, as far as I remember, as well, pink. And for some reason, that's becoming a sort of LGBTQI plus BBC ITV Channel 4, whatever it is now, icon. Grow up.
Yeah.
Grow up. Absolute nonsense. It means bugger all, quite frankly. It's just pink. God, these people annoy me. I was in WH Smith on Saturday looking for the Print the Legend mag. Well, I can't have that dumb go. Oh, see. And the woman tried to look for it on the shelf, and she pulled off about 10 or 15 copies of the latest Doctor Who magazine. And she said, and I kid you not, no one buys this anymore. I believe you. I believe it. I am surprised that WH Smith has about 10 or 15 copies of Doctor Who magazine in there, because mine gets 5.
Well, I went to WH Smith the other day there too, and they had the missing special thing that looked quite interesting. I had a look at that. They had the 1971 collector's edition, which was really good, and then they had one with Tom, the monthly magazine with Tom and the new Sutek together on the front cover. So they had lots of issues of my WH Smith down the road. So
I tuned out with that. Sorry, I wasn't interested in about Doctor Who magazine. Not interested in it at all, Paul. Don't care.
It's fine, but yeah, there's a lot of them about.
The show, it stays done as well, in my opinion. Do you know what I mean? But thank you for that. Really informative. So we got here from Philip. Philip is saying to us here, Sutek was scary because of his stillness and calm, backed up by the voice. However good your retake is, CGI is not scary. That's a good point, actually, guys, isn't it? That's a good point. Yeah,
it's a brilliant point. You can use CGI to enhance a monster that's a practical effect.
Yeah,
like if it's got reptilian eyes, you can use CGI to make them blink in a way that you couldn't make an animatronic do it convincingly.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't make it entirely that, because even now it doesn't fully blend in, and you can tell that's CGI. Phil's exactly right.
I blame George Lucas for that, to be honest. But anyway, that's my opinion.
Yes.
Yeah, he started that whole thing with the CGI when you think about it, though, Paul.
Yeah. Less is more, in my opinion. But in George Lucas's case, it's not.
Yeah. And I'm just so glad I've got the original Star Wars in their original format on the old DVD there, and it's not getting anywhere. You're not having it back, Lucas. Tough booby-doos, I say. It's staying on that shelf, and it's getting loved and looked at. So there we go. Sutek was waiting to continue his destruction on all life. Why didn't he carry on his twisted crusade wherever the TARDIS landed? This makes no sense, Richard's saying to us. It doesn't, though, does it? I mean, again, as you lot are pointing out in there, it was all about the fan. I mean, we've gone past New Adventures territory here, haven't we, guys? This is more fan nonsense. I mean, this in a New Adventures book wouldn't have even gone down well, would it? Or a Missing Adventures, it wouldn't have stood really. What he did here.
I don't understand why, if they're going to bring Sutek back, they just bring him back. He's returned for revenge, and that's it. You don't need all this crap backstory about clinging to the TARDIS for 40 years. That's just nonsense.
Yeah. And who remembers the explosion? Who remembers that explosion in the whatever episode it was where Donna triggers an explosion by a coffee? I mean, if we can't remember that as fans, it's no wonder the general public don't watch this now, because they have to think of all this stuff, don't they? Oh, that explosion. Was it explained in the show that he woke up because of an explosion? And was it explained it was the explosion that was caused by a cup of coffee in an episode the year before?
He's allergic to caffeine or something. What was on the other?
Absolutely ridiculous. This is not good storytelling, is it? It really is. And there's a lot of threads in that series, I think. I can't remember them now because I'm over it. That's still out there, aren't they? The snow and all that. Oh, well, I can't be done with it. And again, thank you for that, Daryl. Female PM in terror of the Zygons, again, suggesting the future.
Yep.
Excuse me. And Cute Pyro, thank you again for your super chat. The Osiris myth is a complex and influential story in ancient Egyptian mythology that tells of the merge of the god Osiris, a primeval king of Egypt. And it's a cracking story, that, isn't it? I remember learning that at school. And that's part of the project I got full marks on simply because of Pyramids of Mars. Got a gold star, Ian.
Gold stars are good.
Well, that's the thing.
Especially at
Doctor
primary
Who
school.
taught us all a lot about history, which is superb.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I'll never forget the start and the birth and death of Leonardo da Vinci, 1452 to 1519, purely because of City of Death. You know,
exactly.
Wonderful stuff.
Crikey, listen, we are going over time again. I hope you can stay with us, Who viewers. Sorry about that. We are going over time again. Absolutely amazing. So thank you. So I'm gonna actually come to our last story now, if you don't mind. I'm gonna shorten the show a little bit because we had a lot to go through. We're going to shorten the show again. Shorten the show. And we're going to look at this now because this week we had some news from the Bafta, the British Academy of Film and Television Awards. So if you didn't see this, this is going to make you laugh, I hope. Look at this. They've actually chosen a side. Bafta tells non-binary stars to pick a side as they refuse to introduce woke gender-neutral categories. This was reported in the Mail Online. This is hilarious. Bafta has dealt a blow to non-binary performers, deciding after spending 2 years debating the thorny question of gendered acting categories that award nominees will have to pick a side and choose whether they want to compete as actors or actresses. Oh my goodness, this is world-shaking nonsense. The announcement places non-binary performers like Emma Corrin, Emma Darcy, and Bella Ramsey in a tricky position. Yes, because they have to come back into reality. Amazing. Revised guidelines released last week say that film producers must confirm the gender or gender identity of each candidate for nomination. A source adds it's up to the entrant which category they enter into. Following decision in 2022 by the music counterparts of the Brit Awards to go gender neutral, Bafta revealed that they were engaged in proactive and thoughtful consultation on the subject of gendered acting categories and were speaking to sector peers, industry stakeholders, and experts. A source added it's up to, that's the bit I've just done. It goes on to this. Ultimately, though, they opted to make no change, effectively shutting out the growing band of non-binary performers. I love the way they say the number. It's a bandwagon. It's the trend. Oh, look at me. I'm Snethel. It continues. A Bafta spokesman said that while the actor and actresses categories remained, the certificate and mask could carry the term performer if that was preferred by the winner. The Brits, meanwhile, no longer have gender categories such as Best Male Solo Artist, a move widely thought to be driven by non-binary singer Sam Smith, who needs to get help. So Adele, who won Best British Artist in 2022, said on stage, "I understand why the name of this award has changed, but I really love being a woman and being a female artist." The debate over gender neutral categories has proved to be a controversial one in recent years because it's all made up nonsense. The Crown star Emma, who uses they/them pronouns even though she's a woman, previously claimed that award ceremonies aren't inclusive enough and said change would enable everyone to feel acknowledged and represented. Really, she said. Okay. Emma added that more representation was needed within roles in the entertainment industry to encourage more of an urgency around addressing the subject. She asked, when it comes to categories, do we need to make it specific as to whether you're being nominated for a female role or male role? My answer, yes. You can discuss awards and the representation there, but really the conversation needs to be about having itself more representation in the material itself, in the content that we are seeking for non-binary people, for queer people, for trans people, because they think, then I think they will change a lot. What a load of old nonsense. When those parts come up, meaning more people and more actors are playing those roles, then I think there will be more of an urgency with which these questions will be addressed. Emma has identified as non-binary publicly since 2021 and has shared her journey with her gender identity publicly on social media. She's obviously utterly
Of course she has.
Yeah. The thing
anyway.
about this is about, can actors just not act and get on with it and be allowed to play parts, you know, regardless of this nonsense of what category you're in, because it's actor or actresses. That's all it should be. Simple as that.
Yeah.
What would they do if everybody just decided they were trans? They would invent something else, because then they wouldn't feel special because they'd be the same as everybody else, and it would have to then be something else. You know,
this is what this is, isn't it? This is all about narcissistic tendencies. Look at me, I'm special.
Yeah.
It's all about this feeling nonsense again. Oh, I don't feel this, or I don't feel this. It's tough booby-doos, in my opinion. It doesn't matter what you feel. The fact is, in reality, if you have a penis, you're a male. If you have a vagina, you're a female. That's the world. Get on with it.
I'm just impressed BAFTA's taking a stand on this. That's really quite impressive. That's a good place
really
to start.
isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's a shock. The article goes on to say, in contrast, All Saints, which is a pop group here, star Shaznay Lewis warned women face being disregarded and excluded by gender-neutral categories. The singer was referencing the gender-neutral Brit Awards when she said scrapping male and female categories will deny a generation of girls from having the experience of winning. She told Radio Times, progressive ideas should benefit everyone, but how can that be the case if we do not acknowledge female artists? The female artists who are symbols of empowerment to millions of young aspiring women. The birth of the new awards has seen the demise of both best male and the best female categories, and women predictably have suffered as a result. It does not feel right, and I have to ask why women now face being disregarded and excluded. Is it because we are not seen as equally bankable by the industry? But yeah, I mean, this has all come off the back of the Brits taking this weak-minded vote and saying, oh, anybody can go this. And of course, a man won the award. You know, and it's just a case of here. It's good to see BAFTA actually turning around and saying, no, it's male or female. But can you imagine? Can you imagine what happened in the Bad Wolf offices? Can you? Can you imagine, Who viewers? Can you see them spitting blood, can't you?
Oh, yeah.
The thing about the BAFTAs, it's a very long ceremony anyway, but to add another 400 categories to make it even more boring, it's too horrible to contemplate. It really is.
I know. Again, great to see you all coming into the chat with this. Richard saying to us, why should there be categories for unfortunate people with gender dysphoria? I've said this before on the show. 6 short years ago, gender dysphoria was treated with respect, and these people would have been given help. Now they are given huge amounts of money and a career in show business and pandered to and slapped on the back. Oh, you're wonderful, you're marvelous, you're beautiful. Stop, in my opinion, stop facilitating this nonsense. Stop supporting it all. Get them some help. They are not non-binary. They are human beings. A human being cannot be non-binary. It's a fact. Why are we turning off our backs on actual common sense and fact? Because of ideology. It's an ideology. Idea.
It is crazy, isn't it?
It's
just while we're talking about BAFTA, I saw, with relation, tying back to what we were first talking about with a certain newsreader, apparently BAFTA have been considering whether or not they're going to strip him of his award. That said Welsh newsreader. And I think, considering what he admitted he'd done, I would have liked it if BAFTA had acted as quickly as they did with Noel Clarke, who turns out to have not done anything at all.
Well, it's always 2 rules here, isn't it? It's going on with this. It's always the 2 rules. And I think, you know, even for BAFTA to say, or allegedly say, oh, we're going to have to think about this, I think that's ridiculous, because it's 1 rule for one and 1 rule for another.
Yeah,
and why in this case? It's very ridiculous how they seem to forget certain things they've done in the past, and it's the recent past here as well, and it's favoritism here. Why? What's the big issue? It should be 1 rule for all. 1 rule for all. That's why we're in the mess. One of the reasons we're in the mess we're in, because it hasn't been. You know, that's the problem, isn't it? It's been blind eyes here, blind eyes there, blind eyes here, blind eyes here. I mean, more so in the show business industry. It's shocking. Backup is saying to us here, they get the world on a silver platter and then they cry victim. Don't they just? Don't they just? And Raymond Williams is saying, I'm glad BAFTA made the right decision. Otherwise, they would have to change their name to DAFTA.
Or NAFTA. Yeah.
NAFTA, yes.
NAFTA's a better. Yeah, I like the NAFTA one. Absolutely. Thank you, Marjorie, for your thing there. And Cute Pyro again. Thank you so much for your super chat. Lovely. I've been transitioning since 2016, but what I'm doing in life is my own beeswax. They is no reason you need to broadcast you being trans to the world. But again, it's one of these things, isn't it? With Cute Pyro, we've had this chat before. I mean, it's like a fashion at the moment, and the cult are pushing this more and more and more. It's like a fashion, isn't it? And it's a fad. And it's another way for people to say, oh, look at me. I'm so tolerant. I'm so special. I'm so accepting. And oh, aren't I a nice person? It's about them.
Yeah.
You know, it's about them more than anything, and more so in that industry. Look at what we talked about a few weeks ago with that woman. And yes, I'm going to say woman because you are. And Matt Smith correcting the journalist to say they. No, it's a she. She has a vagina. She is a woman. Get on with it, you arty-farty nonsense people. You know?
Yeah.
Bad Wolf will be weeping into their lattes, says Stephen. And
them lattes.
Yeah.
yeah, and they don't need to worry because they ain't going to be winning anything, says Domgo. Can you imagine? Again, I just think, oh, why? You know, how did they do that? Back to 2 tiers again, says Rick Storm. Absolutely, we are there. But hopefully that means that BAFTA have come to their common sense. And with BAFTA as well, if they're going to get harassed, aren't they, by people, by the minority now, this cult, they're going to get harassed. No, you've got to do this, and you've got to, and that's the thing, you've got to do. No, they don't. None of us do. Because some of us live in reality and not the show business fantasy, which now has crept into everything else. It really is ridiculous. The truth has to be looked at. There is nothing wrong and there's nothing far right and there is nothing bad about the truth. Even how these people will go on and on and on about saying they are and accuse us of being ots, is, and phobes. I think as Doctor Who fans, we are more than used to that now after 8 years of it.
Yeah.
But the truth has to be the main thing, because otherwise, where's society going to go? Where's the world going to go? We're going to be living a lie. Is it worth it?
No.
I don't think so.
No.
I think that's why it's one of the reasons we are where we are in society now. And these people, in my opinion, are responsible for it because they've been enforcing and dictating to the rest of us with nonsense for far too long. And I think that's where all the problems are now. Yeah, so that's that there. Raymond is also saying to us here, Ricky Gervais got they banged to rights.
He has indeed, yeah.
Absolutely.
He's
and
very clever.
He's very clever. Fantasy and feelings, says Legion of James, over facts is destroying society.
Yeah.
There you go. So listen, we are way over time here, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed the show tonight. Mark is also saying to us, how bad could they be to ruin the Cybermen?
Yeah.
Well, the Cybermen won't be allowed anymore, let's face it.
Yeah.
It is a joke in Doctor Who fandom that they will turn up saying they're the Cyber them.
Yeah.
It'll be the Cyber race. The Cyber race it's going to be.
Well, don't worry, Maestro's coming back next season. We'll be fine.
No, don't you start that rumour.
You're a bad man.
You are a bad man.
Probably is, though, let's
Very
be honest.
bad man.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this. This is the point, Julianne. Will Mr. Tennant refuse a BAFTA? Should in the future he be offered one? Time will tell. Let's see how hypocritical they are. Let's see how many.
I'm sure if it's down to his own personal glorification, his principles will temporarily go out the window.
Exactly. And who else in show business, after them pushing all this nonsense over the last few years, who else will turn down BAFTAs from now on? Should be the majority of them. But let's see if we get some normality. From my point of view, congratulations, BAFTA. Welcome.
Yeah, well done,
to the
BAFTA.
Real world, and welcome to truth. What's that you're saying here? Atom is saying to us, truth is always universal and known as such. Truth determined by one's feelings will always be a falsehood and should never be entertained by smart and independent-minded individuals who think it. The problem is, it is being, isn't it? Because we've also got people, as I say, thinking that in order to be perceived as nice, because they care about themselves in that sense, oh, I've got to be the right person, I've got to be the most tolerant, I've got to be nice, that they'll go along with this stuff. Put your foot down and get some welly, will you? And say, no, that's not the truth. The truth is what's in front of you.
Yeah.
Anyway, the sermon here ends. I want to thank you all for joining us. Don't forget, we mentioned it earlier, we have just started, and thank you so much for your support and comments for what our first episode, where we had a great chat on Wednesday just gone, starting our Worlds Below series. We talked about the Silurians and Sea Devils. We have started that series. Come back and join us again if we're not here beforehand. You never know what could happen in this crazy world on Doctor Who, because this Wednesday, live on the channel at 8 o'clock UK time, we are going to be reviewing Doctor Who and the Silurians as part of our Worlds Below series. So you still got time to get on the DVD, get on the iPlayer, get onto wherever it is you access these things, Go and watch the 7 brilliant episodes and come back and join us with your views and your opinions of Doctor Who and the Silurians this Wednesday. I can't wait.
You'll love it.
Wait.
Yeah.
They will love it, won't they?
Absolute proper Who cracker.
Absolutely. And as I say here, this is, of course, it's about our Worlds Below series. That was the main one that is still available up there on the playlist, of course, there, our discussion, our overview. We've got Doctor Who and the Silurians, Warriors of the Deep, The Hungry Earth, and Cold Blood all coming as part of that. Plus, we are going to be doing a Sound of Music about that as well. We're going to be looking at, we'll let you know more about that as the series goes on. Paul, Ian, as ever, thank you so much for joining me for this big show, the big show here on Who's Views, Headlines. Thank you so much. Hope you've enjoyed it, and thank you for contributing.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it very much. You're very welcome. Thank you.
Are they fabulous? We will be back, Who Viewers, on Wednesday, as I say, with Doctor Who and the Silurians. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you for all your chats. Please subscribe to the channel. Make sure you are still subscribed to the channel. Keep an eye on that, everybody. And we will see you again very soon. Until we do, have a fantastic start to the week. Yeah. See you later. Bye-bye.
Good night, folks. Bye-bye.